Hi, my name is Tarsim, and in this session, I would be deep diving into the science and the knowledge of yoga and spirituality. Now, I, as an Indian, yoga and spirituality are not new to us. Our traditions, our cultures, they are very tightly connected to yoga and spirituality. But I'm sure you would agree that there is a lot of storytelling in our cultures. And nobody really knows where does the line between storytelling ends and obviously that of mysticism, and where is the real science, where is the real knowledge. And I work as a geoscientist in oil and gas exploration, and I do science all my life. So in this session, when I'm going to be talking about yoga and spirituality, I will be talking purely from the perspective of modern science with zero element of mysticism and storytelling. Now, a couple of years ago, I took two courses from Isha Foundation. One was inner engineering, and one was Shambhavi Mahamudra Kriya, and this was taught directly by my guru, Sadhguru. And these two courses, and with regular practice, I eventually discovered the real science behind this. And honestly, for a very long time, I was trying to figure out what exactly is this thing that we are talking about when we talk about yoga and spirituality, and no one was able to give me a very clear, straightforward answer. So I thought, well, if I have gotten that knowledge somehow, maybe others can also be benefited from that knowledge sharing. So here I'm talking about, going to be talking about this yoga and spirituality. Now this is going to be a rather long session, maybe around 2+ hours, but I'll keep it very light, right? Kind of a storytelling so that you don't get bored, and I will try to jack it up here and there so that you maintain the interest. But again, I'll keep it very simple and very light. So let's get started. This guy on the screen, just a cartoon sketch of Gautam Buddha. This was the guy who started the Buddhist or the Buddhism, the religion of Buddhism. And we know from our historical records that around 500 years before Christ, this guy was coronated as a king somewhere in the current geography of Nepal. But he had some questions. He saw probably death for the first time, and he got curious, and he had some questions which the people of that time were not able to answer to his satisfaction. So he let go his whole kingdom, all the pleasures of life. He let go to seek an answer to the question that was troubling him, and he just could not control it, right? He just could not control it. And I, as a modern day student, would ask myself, what exactly was he asking? What was his question that nobody was able to answer? And let me give you what exactly was Gautam Buddha struggling with in his times. What he was struggling with is what we also struggle with. In fact, all of us struggle with sometime at some point in our lives with varying degree. Is who am I? Who am I means who is this life? Why am I made? How am I made? Why am I on this planet? What is the nature of life? Essentially, the question we are trying to ask ourselves is, what is the nature of life? What is the nature of everything around us? How has this thing happened over whatever time it has happened? But let me kind of give you another hint that yes, you want to know who you are, and in essence, you're asking, what is the nature of life, and you want to experience it. You want to experience what has made everything. But what is actually more important also is that why do we human beings ask this question? Why, when we are born, we sort of want to know who we are, or we want to know the nature of life, but why do we want to know? So in science, the way I say it, and of course it's very common knowledge, that when you want to know something, you must ask the right question. The right question itself has half the answer stuck in it, right? So I'm going to be talking about why humans even ask the first question. And before I go deep diving into this subject, I have I have some disclaimers to make. First of all, I'm not a YouTuber, so this setup is going to be very basic, but hopefully I'll try to do justice to whatever technology I could get my hands on and whatever time I had. And also, this is not really a sponsored session. It's purely my own work. No organization or individual has sponsored this. And then I do not claim to know everything. There could be things that maybe need an improvement in my discussion here. And the last is I have put together this session, this PPT, by grabbing some images from straight Google search. And well, I do not intend to monetize this video, so I'm hoping that with me using those images which are out in public is okay. If it's not okay with some of you, please let me know, and I'll try to fix whatever way I can. Right, now let's go into yoga, and we'll try to look at the yoga from a modern day perspective. Right, so in this session, I'll be covering all the three aspects of yoga. The first being what is yoga, and the second being why do we do yoga, and the third is, which is the most important of all, is how do we do yoga. And there are so many yoga masters. I'm not competing with any of those nice gentlemen or ladies. I just want to tell you how this whole process at a very scientific modern day perspective happens, right? And with this session, my humble objective, in fact that's what kind of pushed me into this session, was that I want to demystify yoga and spirituality. That's kind of my objective, and let's see if I achieve success in my objective here. Now, before I go into yoga, let me kind of take a short detour and talk about ourselves. We say we are intelligent people or intelligent species, and we are genius, and no doubt we are indeed the best animal on this planet. We, because of our intelligence, have learned so much about the cosmos, have learned so much about the medicines. In fact, just a couple of years ago, there was COVID-19 pandemic, and because of the knowledge and the efforts at the global level, we were able to contain that pandemic. And not just on the cosmos side, which is on the high side. We just I think a couple of decades ago, we sent our first Voyager out of our solar system, and we also know quite a bit about the atoms. We can make atoms, we can break them, we can see them through scanning microscopes. So we have done a lot of knowledge gathering on the smallest level as well as on the highest level. At the same time, machines, so you're looking at AI, ML, all kinds of fancy machines that we can think of. And we also are now developing quantum computing so that we can do a lot of data crunching at very, very high speeds. And then you're asking yourself, what next, right? What next is on our way? Well, what we already know is that we are looking at artificial intelligence. It's already the buzzword these days. AI is the machine learning. It's in every sphere of life. It's penetrating really fast. Now, what exactly are we looking for? Now, we are looking for machines that can sort of do our work, that can take our work away, and we can chill out on the beach side, right? Now, the question we usually ask with these machines is, can these machines come alive? I remember seeing almost nearly 15-20 years ago a movie from Hollywood, Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and in that movie they very nicely depict people developing science, making robots, and then the robots then become alive, and then they go about killing humanity, and then you have to defend yourself. Now, I don't know if machines will actually become that smart and they can take us, they can take over the entire humanity. That remains to be seen. But the purpose of this slide is, I want to ask again, I'm going to be asking why, how, right? And the question I have is, what exactly is intelligence? And how did we get it? So some of you might say, well, we are intelligent because we have a fairly complex brain and neural network processing, so many millions of neurons in our brain, and that gives us intelligence. Well, that's the biological aspect of it. But I don't really think that, let's say some species, they don't really have a brain, but they are still alive and they are doing their work fairly easy. They're able to survive. right? So what we say intelligence is not really a very fancy brain. I'm looking at something more basic, something more. What exactly are we dealing with this? What is this beast of, we call this intelligence, that it really is? So we'll try to explain this also. Moving on. So if you go to yoga teachers and you ask what exactly is yoga, right? You will get all kinds of answers. You will have I don't know how many people, different people will have a different answer, right? And you're asking, the most common answer that you get is when you do yoga or when you become a yogi, you become one with the cosmos, or you become one with the universe. And here is your first dose of mysticism. Now, what does it even mean to become one with the cosmos, right? I am in this universe. What exactly do you mean by it, right? So no clarity, and nobody is able to answer. Nobody was able to answer me to my satisfaction. So as I said, I digged deep into it, trying to understand. And if you go to real world scenario, there are two things that people talk about when they're talking about yoga. The first is this physical exercise where we twist and turn and stretch our bodies, and no doubt this gives us agility, flexibility, and good health. This is what we call as a hatha yoga. Right? The other spectrum, the other side of yoga talks about meditation. You sit cross-legged and you don't know what you are dreaming and thinking about, but that's what the teachers teach you. You start to meditate, and then you're asking, okay, if I go into this, I can probably get good health, but is this what yoga is about? If I go here, I don't even know what I'm looking for, right? So again, the question I'm asking is, whatever is yoga, what exactly is the end goal of yoga? So if I was to push anyone into yoga, what exactly he or she can expect to happen or to achieve from this practice of yoga, right? So this was kind of very, very vague, and even to this date, very few people have been able to answer me very correctly what exactly is yoga. So let me give you the answer, and then in the coming slides I'll talk about what exactly is yoga as I explain you. Right? So, what is yoga? Yoga is simply knowledge. That is all yoga is. And this knowledge is the knowledge of the living, or you can say the knowledge of life. So, when we talk about yoga, we are looking at the knowledge that I can transmit to you, right? Or someone can transmit to me. And this knowledge is precisely and purely for the living. So I'm a living being. There are animals, there are plants, there are so many things which are alive, and yoga teaches us the science or the knowledge of the living, right? Now let's explain this further. Now, to seek knowledge, you usually go to a school, and in the school you learn different things. The first thing you learn is a language. For example, you could be learning French, you could be learning German, English, Spanish, you name it. And the purpose of learning a knowledge is so that you are able to communicate effectively with your other human beings. And then you also learn in the school mathematics. And with mathematics, when you get comfortable with mathematics, you can do your daily commerce. So you can trade with people, take money, buy things here and there, and you know how much to pay them. Then we talk about the science, the normal science that we talk about. And we know that in our current education system, science is a very broad umbrella term. And within the word of science, there are different subjects. So there could be biology. Biology means you are studying how am I made, from individual cells to organs to the full body. Then we're looking at physics. We're talking about atoms to the big cosmos. So the physics means the study of the physical. And then we have the chemistry. So how are atoms made? How can you combine them? How can you break them and then make use of it? Now, if you were to say, well, where does yoga fit in? Well, yoga is also, you can call it a branch of science, right? Much like physics, biology, and chemistry, and there are other streams, astrophysics, to name another one. Yoga is also a branch of science, or it's science, right? And if you were to learn yoga, what exactly you're going to learn in this branch of science is physics and biology. And in fact, in the coming slides, I would be talking about a bit of physics and a bit of biology from the perspective of yoga. Now, science, the way we understand science, or the way we say I'm a scientist, is essentially you have a concept and you do experiments and then you come up with a conclusion. And if another guy, unbiased, performs the same experiment and he gets the same result, and there are hundreds of people who do the same experiment, again unbiased, and get the same result, you say that whatever your concept is actually going to be valid in all kinds of environments. And that's how essentially science is. So you come up with a concept and then you perform experiments, and then if everybody gets the same result, that means your concept is accepted as science. And it's very similar is when you talk about yoga, right? Let's take an example. What I'm talking about is, in this case, here's a baby and you take a comb, you rub it on your hair, and we know that this comb gets statically charged, and this can now pick up small light pieces of paper. And we have all done this, right? Everybody has done this experiment and everybody gets the same result, right? Just kind of a cartoon, right? So when we talk about yoga, I'm going to be, let's say, rephrasing a few things. So now instead of saying I perform the experiment, I'm going to say I experience the outcome of an experiment, right? Again, just a change of words but still have the same meaning, right? Now, whatever yoga is teaching, I'll go deep into it, that yoga is a science that you can learn, and then yoga also involves experimentation, much like physics, chemistry, biology. And the challenge with yoga is that whatever yoga is teaching, the way to experiment is not easy. There's a big preparation time of whatever yoga is teaching, and then it requires a lot of commitment. It requires a committed environment that, okay, you follow these things and then you get the results of yoga. And obviously, if everybody is performing that experiment and getting the same result, so we say that whatever yoga is teaching us and the way it's working, it is universal. It is a real science, right? Now, if this is science, how did this start? Or who started this knowledge, what we call as yoga? Now, this started, or let's say when this knowledge got organized, we don't really know, but we know that the first person who let's say organized this knowledge into something that can be transmitted from one person to another. This yogi, we don't know his name, but we call him the first yogi, or the first teacher of yoga. And we just kind of, these days we use the term Adi Yogi. Adi Yogi means the first yogi, right? And I don't know how long ago was that. Was it 5,000 years ago, or 50,000 years ago, or 70,000? I have no ideas, right? And I do not want to go into that discussion of how long or how old this knowledge is. I'm not that concerned about how old this knowledge is. What we are talking about is this knowledge. And again, keep in mind, back in those days, the writing systems may not have been very competent as they are right now. So a lot of the knowledge was passed on verbally from the teacher to the students. And this is where the first challenge of, let's say, knowledge transmission happens, right? When you transmit knowledge verbally, you always add your own things in order to make the reception easier by the other party, right? You always tweak it. So if I have to transmit something, in fact, there are games that you play where if I tell you one statement or one phrase and you have to repeat that phrase down to 5 people, you know that what will eventually reach that person is just going to be a cocktail of so many things. Same way, when we talk about the knowledge of yoga being transferred from one person to another verbally, things got a little bit of tweaked here and there, and then eventually with transmission, what happened was things got, as I call it, spiced up, right? So this knowledge got spiced up. And why do you spice up? Is because you want to make the transfer process very easy. And let me give you an example. Let me tell you a story. And the story is, there was a king. The king had a wife, and the king was okay, strong enough. He could easily pick up a heavy sword, and the king ruled very nicely. Now, this is a very boring story. Nothing new, nothing exciting in this story. How about I say, well, there was a king back in those days. The king had the power of 5 elephants, and the sword that the king had universal powers. In fact, God himself forged that sword for the king. And the wife he had, beautiful, straight out of heavens. And this king had a big kingdom, and he was the most wisest rulers humanity had ever seen. And this is what is keep getting you excited. Wow, look at this king. I want to be that king. I want to have those powers. And this is the kind of spicing up that I'm referring to. And because this knowledge was being transferred along with the transfer, or let's say the transfer of religion, what happened was that down the line, religion and yoga kind of gotten mixed up, and there was so much supernatural activities being thrown in to create that story, so that people listen to your story, right? And every culture has it. I'm not trying to demonize one culture and not the other. Every culture has some sort of supernatural, super human kind of things being thrown in to that story that makes the transmission easy. So when you are hearing, okay, a guy super strong, well, I want to hear about him. Tell me, I want to be I want to be that same guy, right? And again, as I said, I'm not trying to throw mud at any belief system here, but the idea being that all across the globe, in all kinds of traditions, all kinds of religions, the knowledge transfer has gotten mixed up with mysticism and storytelling, and nowadays it has gotten so mixed up that you don't know where the spice ends and what is the real content of the story, right? So with thousands of years of knowledge transfer, things have gotten very nicely mixed up. So the same thing is with yoga as well. That's kind of what I'm trying to come down to, is that the knowledge of yoga, which originally started from Adi Yogi, at this point I had a very hard time trying to understand what exactly are we dealing with here. Nobody could give me this knowledge without the mysticism that has been used to spice up the story, right? Here again, I want to go into the whys and the hows, and the question I have is, why do we love such stories, right? Why am I so interested in hearing about a man who had supernatural strengths, or a woman who was super beautiful, right? Or a demon who had the powers unparalleled? Why this storytelling excites me, right? I want to know why am I so attracted toward these, even though I know very well that none of this is true, right? And if you ask the questions like from the modern day perspective, let's take the case of this unfortunate Boeing 737 Max airplanes. A few years ago, a couple of these planes, they crashed, and by nature everybody was asking, why did the plane crash? So when to a real life event, we are so quick to ask why this happened. Why don't we ask the same thing to things that we are doing? Why don't we ask ourselves, why do I love stories, or why do I do this, or why do I do that? Essentially, this inquiry is what I'm kind of generating in this session. And when I talk about spicing up, what exactly am I talking about? So this knowledge of yoga has gotten spiced up so badly that now you don't know where is the spice and where is the knowledge. So what exactly is this spice I'm talking about? We're looking at a big vocabulary. We have bloated the vocabulary of yoga and spirituality with these story-linked words. The first one being enlightened. Oh, that guy is enlightened. Perfect. I want to achieve inner peace. I don't know what exactly am I talking about, but I want to achieve the inner peace, right? We're looking at nirvana. Again, what is nirvana? Not many people know about it. Then we're looking at the stories of ghosts and spirits, right? And the soul inside me, all these stories that have gone around, the story of reincarnation or the concept of reincarnation. I'm sure it's not specific to one culture. Many cultures talk about this recycling and reincarnation. And then this word called samadhi, where you can just, as the yogis say, I want to leave my body. What does that mean? Can you explain this to me in a modern day perspective? Then we talk about the karma, the latest buzzword in the current times, the good karma, the bad karma. Oh, this thing happened to him because of his karma. We'll try to understand this as well. Heaven and hell. When I die, I'm gonna go into heaven and I'm gonna go into hell. Right? I want to achieve mukti. Mukti means freedom or liberation. What does that mean? You are free. You are free to speak whatever you want. Can you be more precise? Or what exactly is the meaning of mukti or liberation in this context? Bhakti means God. Oh, I want to devote my life to God. Fair enough. Please go ahead. Again, I'm not criticizing anybody here. All I'm saying is that these mystical words, mysticism, has been dumped into this knowledge of yoga. And the next is aham brahmasmi. It means I am the universe. Kind of again going back to the definition of yoga, you become with the cosmos, or you become one with the universe. And then you're asking, what does it even mean? I am in this universe. So what are you asking me to do? Become one with the universe? Can you please elaborate? And then the last is moksha. Moksha is same as mukti. And here again, we are looking at liberation. Well, I am free. Nobody is coming and killing me. So what exactly? Can you please tell me what exactly do you mean by mukti? And the last, but not the least in this category, is God. And we have created the God. Every cultures have done it in whatever forms and factors they have. And now, again, this knowledge of yoga and this bloated vocabulary that we have invented and we use, nobody really knows how do you remove the noise from the knowledge and make use of it. So let's start with this enlightenment. When we say, oh, that guy is enlightened, what exactly are we talking about here? Let's go back to the Gautam Buddha, right? The Gautam Buddha, almost 500 years before Christ, and he just sat there and he got enlightened. And the question that I'm asking is, if I want to gain some knowledge, I'm going to a school or I'm going to other human beings, I'm talking with them in order to enhance my knowledge. But this gentleman here, with all due respects, this guy had some questions. He went looking for answers, he did not get it, and then he said, I'm gonna sit here at one place and let me see if I get the answers. And so I'm asking myself, what can you learn just by sitting, right? You sit and you learn and you become enlightened. Again, from a modern day perspective, this is not what we are talking about usually, right? We want to go to a school and learn something for the other human beings. And in more recent history, Prophet Muhammad as well, we know that he also had some spiritual enlightenment or spiritual experiences, and then he started a religion. So this guy started Buddhism. Muhammad laid the platform for Islam, and again, there have been so many other human beings that have come after Muhammad, talking about Sikhism, Jainism, and all these enlightened beings. What exactly does it mean? Well, to answer that question, enlightenment simply means that you become a graduate in the knowledge of yoga. That's all it means. That if you want to go to a yoga class and you learn the yoga, and if you graduate the class with the highest score, you become the enlightened being. That is all it means, right? So we talked about yoga, and we talked about just give me a second. So we talked about yoga as science, and we talked about yoga, that yoga has two parts to it, the physics and the biology. So in this part, I'm going to be talking about both the physics and the biology aspect of yoga. So in just few slides. So let's start with what we know so far with our knowledge of modern science. Let's kind of start from there, and then we go back to what yoga is teaching on top of it. So in our current understanding, we have the smallest particle that we know, and we call this the atom. And we know atoms have electrons, and then there are protons and neutrons. And we know that with these large hadron colliders, that these neutrons and protons are not the smallest particle, they are further divisible as quarks, and these quarks are glued together by gluons. And that's kind of where we are right now. So our atomic model, from this very basic one to something more refined, has been created by these large hadron colliders. Recently we discovered the God particle, right? Now when these atoms, they combine to make matter, and we know that let's say from our perspective, that the biggest thing we can experience is that our cosmos, not our cosmos, our solar system. Our solar system has sun and these planets, and we are on the planet Earth. That's kind of what we know, and we can easily experience them. We can see them. We can see the sun, we can see the moon, and we can see the planets fairly easy. And if you want to go up in this knowledge, we know that our solar system is part of a galaxy, which is Milky Way, right? And then in the middle of every galaxy lies a black hole, and that's kind of the force that's pulling everything and spinning everything. And in fact, very recently, we discovered the effects of black holes and how can black holes be visualized. And then we have the entire cosmos, right? The huge cosmos with all these black holes and billions of these galaxies combined together, right? And with cosmos, we know that there's something called as Big Bang. That means all the matter here was squeezed into one bit of thing, and then it exploded around, I think, 14 billion years ago, and that's how this universe got created, and it's been expanding. And we can know when did this happen, so we call this time is equal to 0. That's when the physics started from our perspective. And it's actually kind of a sin to ask what happened before time is equal to 0. We know when at t is equal to 0.0001 second what happened, but we don't know what happened at t is equal to 0 and what happened before this time started. So that's kind of what we know so far, right? From the perspective of biology, again, we go back to what we know so far, and we know that going again back, we all are made up of atoms, hydrogen. We are what we call as carbon life, because we are carbon at the very core. And then these carbons, they made complex proteins, and these proteins, they eventually somehow made one single cell, and that's kind of the smallest life form that we know. And these cells eventually, because of what we think is genetic mutation, is from the genetic mutation, these cells, they divided and eventually became smaller and bigger, and all kinds of life forms that we see on our planet. And where are we right now? We are here, this little group called monkeys. So we understand that these monkeys, they became chimpanzees, and then from the chimpanzees, eventually the human form came about. And how long ago? Probably 100 to 200,000 years ago, right? And that's kind of what we know so far, right? Now, how do we know this? Is because we know that if you take DNA profiling, our DNA is it matches around 98%, if I'm not wrong, with that of a chimpanzee. So we know very well with scientific evidence that we probably came from chimpanzees, because they are the ones who have the most common DNA between us and the chimpanzees, right? And we also look like, we also behave like chimpanzees, so no points guessing that we definitely came from the monkey or the chimpanzee group, right? Now, modern science is great. Physics, great. Biology, great. Everything great. But you might be surprised to see that modern science hasn't given us the answers to 3 questions, right? The entire modern science is based on assumptions, and we don't know what is the reason for those assumptions, or why is that thing happening. The first thing that the modern science hasn't given us an answer to is what is static charge. We again go back to the experiment that we did. We took a comb and the comb could pick up paper because of static electricity. But we don't know why a proton has a positive charge, or what exactly is this property that we are calling as a charge. And because of this property of this matter, and another substance called electron has a negative of it, and they want to come closer. So what is this? You want to call this intelligence? You can say, well, it is intelligence that this guy wants to come close to it, right? Or this guy kind of want to come close to each other. So where is this intelligence coming from? Or is intelligence even the right thing? Or the way to put it is, what we say is a charge, positive or negative, or the absence of it. Is it really a substance that's causing it? That was the first question. The second question is that modern science hasn't been able to answer, is what exactly is gravity, and why do we have gravity at the first place? And you might say, well, gravity is bending of the space and time. Well, that is the mathematical model of gravity. In fact, a few years ago, we detected gravitational waves from an event that happened millions of light years away. So an event that happened in our past, the gravitational disturbance or the gravitational wave was detected now. So we very well know that the gravity wave or the gravitational wave travels, right? But we don't know what is the cause of gravity. Again, we're looking at two substances, they want to come closer, right? Now, what is this intelligence that's pushing them together, and that eventually gives rise to the concept of gravity, right? And the third one is, what is life? What is the meaning of being alive? And if you just think about it, nobody has a definition for what is the meaning of being alive, right? Nobody has a definition. And if you go to a doctor, now you might want to say, oh, when I die. Okay, fair enough. But in medical terms, there is no clear definition of what exactly is something is alive, or something is and because we don't know what is the meaning of being alive, we don't even know what is the meaning of death either, right? Now the question again I'm asking is, we don't know these three things, and the question that I'm asking is, are these things, is static charge a thing or a substance? Is gravity, it's because of a thing, but is it a thing? Life, it's in the substance, but is it a thing? Maybe these are not things, right? Maybe these, when I say thing, I'm talking about it has a physical character, or it's a substance, right? So thing, substance, or physical, they are the same thing. You can switch the wordings as you're comfortable. But the question I'm asking is, are these things, or are these some kind of intelligence that's pushing them together or repelling them, whatever the case may be? And same as with life, right? So let's look at what is yoga adding to this. So we have a physical world, right? We know the atoms, we know the cosmos, and we are very smart at these things. In our knowledge, we can protect ourselves from meteorites. We are very good at the physical athleticism, if you want to call it, right? So in our current understanding, we have the physical cosmos, right? The entire universe, the huge cosmos that we know we are part of, right? Now, and we know that this cosmos is made up of five things. Going back to our understanding of yoga, the yoga says that the physical, the substance around the cosmos or in the cosmos is made up of water, fire, air, earth, and space. And again, they are not really things, they are the properties. So substance occupies space, right? Substance has fluidity, which is what we call as water. It also has heat, which is what we call as fire. So substance, in whatever form and factor that you can think of in this cosmos, exhibits five different properties at varying degrees. Now, where does yoga come in here? So this nothing is yoga at this moment on this single slide. So what yoga teaches is that this cosmos is fine. This is a physical cosmos, right? So all the substance scattered around in the cosmos, but then yoga brings in one more element, which is the energy. So yoga says that this cosmos is surrounded, I'm using the word surrounded carefully, but stay with me. So this cosmos is surrounded with two energies. Energy number one, energy number two, right? And these two are non-physical, and these two are energies. Now, what is an energy? Energy is something that can cause some work to happen, right? That's what we call as energy in our modern day perspective. So, first of all, these are energies. So, these two things have a capacity to cause the substance to behave in a particular manner, right? So, these energies can influence the substance, the physical. That's why we calling them energies. And then the second property is they are non-physical. Non-physical means that they don't have any physicality associated with it. To give you an example, let's say you have a hot iron ball, and this hot iron ball has the potential to affect things around it. Now that energy we are talking about, we know the source of it, and we know why it's being created, and you can put off that source, right? So that's what we're calling as the physical sort of source of energy. But this non-physical is, we don't know the source of it. We don't know what is causing these energies to happen. We have no ideas, but all we know is that these two energies exist. And okay, let's move on. So what is this first energy, and how is this interacting with the substance, right? The first energy is, let's say for the lack of a better word, we say this is energy that is causing awareness in the substance. That's kind of the magical stuff that this energy is able to do. So wherever substance comes from, but if the substance is created, this energy will cause an effect on the substance, which is what we are calling as awareness. So because of this energy, substance becomes self-aware. That's kind of the intelligence we are referring to here. And we feel this energy as self-awareness, or we use the word consciousness, or we also use the word being alive, and they're all interchangeable. I don't want to use the word consciousness, it's kind of being corrupted. I'm very comfortable using the word self-awareness because you very well know how to interpret the meaning of word self-awareness. Self-awareness means I'm aware of myself, right? So this energy is interacting with the substance in a way that this substance, or which is me in this case, I will feel self-aware, right? That's kind of what it is. The second energy is also non-physical, and the way this energy is interacting is, it is creating substance out of nowhere, and it is this, and when the substance is created, it behaves in sort of an intelligent way. And the intelligent way I'm talking about is again the formation of charge. That is the intelligence that you come together, or gravity, right? And then you're asking yourself, well, is it possible that what we call as gravity and static charge, they're not really things, but yoga, based on this model of science that yoga is teaching, it says that gravity and charge, and even this thing we call as being alive or being self-aware, they're not really things. They are the effects of these two energies, and these two energies are present across the globe, right? Now, I'm sure some of you would say, well, this thing cannot be real. If you are a scientist or following science, you will say, well, this model is bogus. This cannot be true. And then I'm asking as a question is, what is reality? Can you explain what is reality? And what the way science is happening right now is, I as a scientist have a theory or a concept, and I do some experiments, and I just have to sell this experiment to 10 of my peer scientists, and then the whole world is accepting it, right? That's how what is happening in reality these days. Now, this model, let's say it doesn't make sense to you at this moment, but let's, for the sake of discussion, that we say, okay, This is the model, and I can prove it to you that this model is reality. And now what I would do is I have to devise some experiments, right? First of all, how did I come to know about this, right? I must have done something to even think about this kind of model of the cosmos where there is physicality and then these two energies. Now, how did I come to know about it? If I can pass on that knowledge to you and you do the experiments and you also somehow confirm the presence of these two energies, that is it, right? That is all what we are here for, right? So let's look at this in one more slide. So in this session, I've tried to explain the concept sometimes in a very repeated manner. I take 2 or 3 or 4 slides and I explain this. So this is just kind of a duplicate slide of the previous one, sort of just a repeat of what we have discussed. Is first of all, these are energies, right? Energies means they can influence the substance. And then the second one is they are non-physical. Now the word non-physical here, in our modern day science, we use a word called metaphysical. So it's not that in our current physical knowledge, we do not accept anything that is not substance. We have started accepting that there can be non-physical form of substance as well. And kind of that's what this knowledge is about, that this is non-physical. Now non-physical means that this energy isn't at one point, either here or there. This energy, if it is present, it's present all across the cosmos. Or if it is absent, it is absent all across the cosmos. So because it doesn't have a form, it doesn't have the mass and the volume, it's totally non-physical, it's totally metaphysical, if I want to use that current modern day terminology. This energy, it's either present all across or it's not present at all across the cosmos. Now you might say, what is this thing we're talking about? Well, it's not really, so as if this energy doesn't follow the law of space. So we know that this space is huge, this cosmos is huge, millions and trillions of light years is what the span of this cosmos is. But when we say something is non-physical, the word non-physical, if you want to interpret this in scientific terms, is that the non-physicality does not believe in the concept of space. So one particle here and one particle here. Now to you, these two particles are some distance away. But to these particles, they are just next to each other. That's kind of what, again, it's kind of a new concept to a lot of people, but it's not really new in the scientific domain. We know that there is something called as quantum entanglement, where when two particles get quantum entangled, right, and if you detect the phase of the first particle, you can immediately detect the phase of the second particle, even if that particle, the second particle, is millions of light years away. So again, I repeat that what has happened is that the concept of space, as we understand it, has broken down in these two particles, and this is modern day science called as quantum entanglement. I'm not making this up. The same thing happens when we talk about non-physical energy. Non-physical means it is not a single point source of energy. It's either everywhere or it's absent at all from the entire cosmos. That's kind of what it means, right? And again, that's what it means, that they are either present all across or they are absent. And because they are present all across, we again use an adjective called universal. So we call them universal consciousness. So again, I'm using the word consciousness. It's not that this energy is consciousness. No, the effect of this energy on the substance is what we experience as consciousness or awareness. So it makes sense that we also call this energy awareness. But again, this energy is not awareness, it's the effect of this energy. And we say, because you are present all across the universe, I would like to call you universal awareness or universal consciousness, and the other energy is called universal intelligence, because that's what this energy is doing, right? Let's look at the first energy in a little detail. I have a couple of slides that I will use to explain a very interesting property of the first energy, and that property is that what we say is awareness it is not linked to mass, or it's not linked to the size of the substance. What does it mean? It means that if you take yourself, we are a human being and we have around 100 trillion cells in our bodies, and that's how big we are. On the smaller side, we have these ants, and we know that these ants are aware. If you touch the ant, either the ant is biting you back or the ant is running away. So the ant is very much aware of itself as we are aware of ourselves. So what we call as awareness. I have 1 trillion cells and I have one awareness, and this ant has 1 million cells and it also has one awareness. And if you go further down, we know that the smallest living entity is a bacteria, and we know that even as per our definition, a bacteria is a living thing. It only one single cell, and this cell is a living entity. And when you say living, even this bacteria has an awareness. Now, when I say awareness, if you go and touch the bacteria, will it respond back? Maybe not, right? So it doesn't have any capability to respond to your touches, or if you shout at it, it won't yell back at you. But we very well know that this bacteria is also self-aware, right? And if you go back again, we human beings, we know that how we were all created is by 2 single cells. We have the sperm cell that the male has and the egg cell that the female has, and one single cell. So it makes a logical extension that this sperm cell was also self-aware and this egg was also self-aware. So kind of what we are going further down on the size is, even this atom, it's one single atom, it's self-aware. It is self-aware. So there is no reason why I would be self-aware and this atom is not self-aware, because what yoga teaches is that every substance, irrespective of the size of the substance, the energy, which is the universal consciousness, is interacting with every physicality, every substance, and the result is the creation of this awareness, right? And with this awareness, we have this awareness, as we call it. We have created vocabulary, which is, again, talk about soul, the spirits, the ghosts, right? The summary is that every substance is self-aware, no doubt about it. And the mysticism that has gotten into this knowledge is we created this thing called souls, the spirit. We are talking about the same thing. We are talking about this awareness that we have, this awareness that plants have, this awareness that ants have. And we have again made a story out of it, and the story talks about souls, spirits or ghosts. That means even this awareness can have a good spirit or a bad spirit. Well, or we say universal soul. That means this energy, you can call it, if you want to call it universal consciousness, you can as well call it universal soul, because that's what the soul is. The soul is just the awareness that we are. And then we also use the word Brahmatma. The word Atma means the soul or the spirit, and Brahma means the cosmos. So the spirit or the soul of the universe, we are referring to, when we use all of these or any of these words, we are referring to this energy that is causing awareness in the substance. Let's look at the second energy. The second energy is actually more interesting. And here we are looking at this energy. The way this energy works is, this energy first creates substance. So in the cosmos, there may not be any substance to start with. And then somehow this energy, again I go back, we do not know the source of these two energies. Even probably the best yogis may not be able to answer the source of these energies. All we know is that they exist and how they are interacting with the substance. And this energy, the second energy, what it's doing is, first of all, it is creating the substance, right? And then the substance is also intelligent. And I again go back to, when I say the word intelligence, I'm referring to two very fundamental properties, the static and the gravity. And that interaction is what we say is intelligence, right? So intelligence in the substance are these two interactions that it's happening, right? Now again, as I said, that's what the understanding is, that this interaction that the material experiences because of this energy is what gives rise to what we call as charge and gravity. Now if you want to understand this a little more further in scientific domains, and I'm not sure how many of you have knowledge of electricity. If you look at this little thing here, it's called a capacitor. A capacitor has two plates, right? And if you power these two plates, what you start to see is electric field being created and in between these two plates. And if there is any substance, any electron or any atom in this plate, the atoms experience the energy, the electric field, and then they are pushed towards one side. So this electricity is causing something on the substance, right? Another maybe not as good example is, another weird example is, if you take your hand and put it in a microwave oven, and you put the microwave oven on. Don't do it at home, I'm just giving an example, right? So if you put your hand in the microwave and you put on the microwave, and the microwaves will then heat up your hand fairly quickly. Now again, the thing I'm trying to convey is that the microwave or the microwaves, they are not hot themselves. It is the interaction of that microwave with your substance that you experience as heat. So something similar is with these two energies. This is not awareness. This is not intelligence. But because the way they interact with substance, we have given them these names, right? And how do you want to visualize this second energy? And my guru very correctly explains this, that assume that this person is this energy, and the way this energy is working is that it's creating these soap bubbles from this bucket of liquid, and these soap bubbles represents the substance that gets created by this energy. This energy from nowhere, it creates the substance, which is this bubble, and these substance, they go and they come back and fall into the same pool, right? That's kind of this creation of the physical matter, the intelligent physical matter, and this intelligence then creates different physical features that we see. It created, so this process created the planets, this process created the solar systems, the black holes, the neutron stars, and eventually everything will go back into the same pool of liquid. That's kind of how we visualize this energy, right? Final understanding. So we talked about yoga as a knowledge of the physics and the biology, and I tried to explain what we know in terms of physics and biology from our current knowledge, and then how yoga brings in and adds to that knowledge and makes it even more better. So the final understanding is that with yoga, you understand how life works. You understand the mathematical, not the mathematical, but the model of every living thing that you can think of. Or here is the model of life or the model of things, right? So you have first, when we talk about a living thing, you have a physical item or a physical structure or what we call as a piece of life. We have one biological or a physical system that is one piece of life, and that piece of life or this physical system is being powered up by this universal consciousness, and this is giving it a single awareness. So this system has one single awareness. You can call it awareness, you can call it consciousness, you can call it the spirit that's powering up this physical. In Sanskrit, we use the word Chaitana. Chaitana simply means awareness. And then this is what the first energy causes. The second energy has first caused it to come up into a physical form, and it also gives the intelligence, which is what we call as the mind system of this physical. So the intelligence which is all across this cosmos, we call this universal intelligence, this energy. First of all, it is creating the substance, right? Destroying it, recycling it, giving it new forms, and then it also gives you this intelligence, which is what we refer to in our terms as a mind system. Mind system has two components. One is memory. So this physical substance will have the capacity in whatever forms to have memory. And the second capacity or the second property this mind system gives is the perception of how to perceive different responses, right? This is kind of if I was a science student, this single slide talks about, okay, that's what the yogic model is. I know how the physical can change, right? But I don't know, from what we go into schools, we don't learn about the concept of one energy creating awareness and one energy creating the intelligence or the mind system. Now, if you were to apply this model of life on a piece of rock, right? Now, a piece of rock is physical substance, and it definitely has single awareness. So this piece of rock is definitely self-aware. But can this piece of rock exhibit some mind system? Now, if you go and touch the rock, it won't respond to you because it has no mind system right now because of the way the substance is. Does it have any memory? Probably yes, it has some memories, but can we use the memory? Maybe not. Going to further, we look at water, and I'm asking again, is water alive? Or let's not ask the word water is alive or the question. Let's ask, water has memory? And in fact, there have been experiments that have proven, I don't know if it's proven or it's just a theory at this moment, but there have been experiments which say water definitely exhibits memory, maybe not huge, but it does exhibit memory. But water has a perception? Maybe not. If you touch water, will it respond back to you? Maybe not, but it does have some what we call as surface tension. So we do see some kind of effect. But then, is this a piece of life? Definitely, it is a piece of life, right? It has some intelligence of its own. It's creating it, it's destroying it, and it probably has some memory. And then we talk about other creatures like this elephant. It's a huge piece of meat over there. We know it has a consciousness, one single awareness. Again, even though it's probably 5 times our weight or 6 times our weight, it also has one single awareness. So yes, it's also aware. And in terms of its memory, it probably has more memory than we have. In terms of perception, this animal also has similar perceptions as we have. But if you go further up and we talk about a tree, is tree self-aware? Yes, a tree is also a living thing. And when I say living things, essentially we are talking about this perception, memory, and the awareness, right? So is tree self-aware? Yes, it is self-aware. Does it have memory? Yes, it has memory, definitely, right? And when I say memory, what do I mean by memory? If you break a piece of it, can it fix itself? Does it have the memory of how to fix its broken arm? Yes, it has that memory. It also remembers things, definitely, and we know it does. Does it have perception? Well, maybe not the way we understand it. If you touch the tree, will it respond back to you? Maybe not. But if you shout at the tree, in fact, there have been experiments where, again, I don't know, was it real or fake or what was that? But if you go and curse a tree again and again, this might cause some negative effects on the tree. Again, I'm not sure whether this experiment is right or wrong. Was it really being conducted? But we know that a tree has memory, a tree has perception in whatever form, and a tree also has single awareness. let's kind of improve our knowledge of this yogic model a little more. The same slide we're talking about. So we come back to this kind of concluding slides of this session, where I'm trying to explain the concept of yoga and the two energies that it introduces. The first, again, kind of the summary of the same knowledge is we say there are two energies in the cosmos, non-physical, and here lies me, which is the physical body, right? And that's the physical me, that's the first part of me, and within me lies an awareness which is coming from this energy, and I am becoming self-aware because of this energy around the cosmos. And third one is there any intelligence in me? Yes, if I break a limb, the body has the smartness to heal it, to repair it, and that's what we call as intelligent smart being, right? And then we ask ourselves, when we say who am I, there are three things which is what makes me. So when you ask the question who am I, essentially you are referring to this energy and the interaction. Essentially you're talking about the self-awareness. So when you say who am I, you are just this awareness that is asking the question. Essentially, again, I'm using the word essentially again and again. What I'm saying is I'm trying to pass on this concept in the language you may understand, right? That's kind of what my motive is. So when we say who am I, we are asking ourselves what is the nature of the life, and this is what the nature of life is. This is what the model of life is. There is substance and these two energies creating it and destroying it. And when we ask ourselves who am I, we are saying I am the awareness in this body. And this Sanskrit phrase aham brahmasmi, which means that I am the universe. Again, go back to the definition of yoga. You become one with the cosmos. And if you understand this model and you say, okay, if I am the awareness is happening because of this energy. Or you can say this energy is awareness. Is it the right way to use it? Well, maybe not. This is where the spice happened. But this we now say that this energy, we name it the awareness. Even though we know that this energy causes awareness in physical, but somehow instead of using this terminology, we are now saying this is what the awareness is. And we say I as I awareness, because it's coming from this is awareness. So we start to say this wording that this is awareness. Well, this is not really awareness. This is the energy that causes awareness, but because we are now we say this is the awareness. And the Sanskrit phrase aham brahmasmi means I am the universe, which essentially means that I am this universal consciousness. That's what it means really. And the second one, which is this energy, we call this the universal intelligence in me, and this is what is creating me and destroying me. And again, when I say destroy, I mean that my body cells are dying on daily basis and they are being replaced on daily basis. So I'm being created, I'm being destroyed. It's a continuous process. It's not that I'm born and then I'm just slowly dying. And this energy in me that is creating me, destroying me, is what we usually say is the universal intelligence, because that's what essentially this energy is. We have named the influence of this energy as the energy itself, and we say that this is the energy that's kind of powering up the intelligence in me in terms of making me and breaking me. And when we say these two energies, again we are referring to the non-physical interaction, the non-physical energies that are causing these things in me. And this is where we use the word Shiva. The word Shiva means the one that is not physical. So essentially the word Shiva, all it means is the non-physical, right? The word Shiva means Shiva without any substance. And when you say you are 1, 2, 3, and this part of you is the non-physical, right? And this is there in across the cosmos. It's not only powering you, it's powering everything. So we say in this yogic terminology that these two energies, which are non-physical, no substance involved, and because they are universal, we made a term called Shiva. The word Shiva means the word Shiva refers to these two energies which are all across the globe. And because the first yogi, he was the one who introduced the humanity to the presence of these two energies. So we said, okay, you are introducing these two energies, and these two energies are what we collectively call as Shiva. So we say, okay, we'll name you also as Shiva, right? So this is where this Adi Yogi got the name Shiva, because he was the one who introduced the concept of the Shiva, which is these two energies, to the humanity. So he also got the name Shiva because of it. Last slide in this concept again. This is important slide. So what we have learned is, I'm again simplifying the model. I'm simplifying again the whole complex model into one last slide. And the last slide is that when we say the humanity or we, and when we say, okay, there is something called as awareness. That's what we have learned. And we know that this awareness is caused by the energies. So this awareness is what we say is me, right? That's what we say. Who am I? Who am I? This is me. And then you have this physical body. And this body is intelligent. It can self-sustain. This body doesn't have to be experiencing awareness all the time, right? And what we say is that this me or this awareness is in the physical, right? Now, is it the right way to say? Let's not go into that. That's how we experience that there is something called as awareness, which is me in this physical. So there is like a gap. There is like a gap of experiencing. Now, this gap that I'm referring to, it's not really an out-of-body experience that I'm talking about. No, I'm not talking about that this is outside this physical. Keep in mind that this does not exist if this doesn't exist. This is purely part of this, right? But the way we experience that, we say, okay, in my experience, this me, which is the awareness, is not the body. And sometimes we use this word out of body, but it's not an out of body experience. It's a no body experience. That means if you do the yogic practice, you are aware of yourself, but slowly you don't feel the presence of the body around you. You totally do not feel it. All you feel is, okay, my awareness, I'm there, but I do not experience the physical body at all. And that's what we call as the no body experience. And now, why do you want to achieve this? Or what is the benefit of this experience? There are some benefits. Let's look at an example where, let's say you have a pet dog or a pet cat, right? And because you and the pet dog are two separate entities, right? So you can very well understand how the dog works. If you train the dog in some way, you can train the dog to do something for you. Or if you feed the dog something, the dog behaves accordingly. So you, being a separate entity from the dog, you can very well understand how to get your work done from the dog, right? What motivation or what stick that you can use to get your work done from the dog. Something similar happens, that if you think you are the master of this physical body, which is the awareness, only when you have this out of body, not the out of body, but the no body experience, you can very well understand. So if this is and the physical, if you create this separation, you can very well understand how the body works. You cannot understand how the body works when you are in your experience the body itself, right? So to understand, like in this case, I'm just giving an analogy. The analogy is that I'm repeating here just to make it more clear, is that this human being can very easily understand how the dog works and how to either reward the dog or punish the dog to get something out of it, or how to control or how to manage the dog. The same way, this you, which is part of this body, if you experience yourself as a separate from the body, and now you are two systems, if you want to call it, and now you can very easily understand how the body works and how to get the best out of this body. And this experience where you are the consciousness or the awareness, and then you have the physical. It's not an out of body experience, it's a no body experience, and you say, okay, I am truly aware of myself, but I do not experience the body. Now when you experience this, you can very well understand the way the body works. So you can understand it much more easier. And this experience is what we call as spirituality. So the word spirituality again comes from the word spirit. The spirit means this part of me. So if you experience yourself as not the physical that you are in this body, you say you had a spiritual experience, or you say you are now spiritual. That's what spirituality means. The word spirituality or spirit, in whatever way you want to call it, essentially you are trying to have an experience where you, being the awareness, is not experiencing the body at all. And now if you say yourself that awareness and body are two separate systems, they are in the same body, fair enough, but they are two separate systems. Now you can very well understand how the body is working. And when I say body is working, you can understand in terms of the two energies, that the first energy, which is the universal consciousness, is giving you the ability to understand how the second energy works. Right? That's kind of what this is telling us. So let me just go back to one slide here. What I'm talking about is that this energy, which is what makes you aware, you have the ability to experience the presence of second energy and maybe also influence it. Right? That's kind of the core of what yoga and the knowledge of yoga is teaching. Right? Coming back here. Now, how do we know that what I've just now taught to you is not bogus? It's actually real, right? So here comes, so I've given you the book knowledge. I've given you how the physical and the biological knowledge of yoga talks about the substance and the two energies. Now, if I want to prove to you this thing, how to go about it? Let's do some experiments. But before that, give me a second. So we are now going into the science part of it. So we are now going into what kind of experiments that we can perform to confirm that whatever yoga teaches us is indeed correct. Let's go into the same part, right? We gave some example of calm and static energy. Essentially, what this experiment is, it's a visual experiment. So you have a theory, you perform the experiments, and others or you yourself see the results through your eyes. It's a visual perception. And if everyone performs the same experiment, they all can perceive through their visual apparatus the same outcome, right? Now the second, that let's kind of go one step at a time into this experimentation. Let's say we have an experiment where we say that if you conduct or if you pass electricity through a metal, the metal heats up. That's kind of the concept. And the way to prove it is, but if you see this iron, you will not be able to see the heat, right? So that your visual apparatus is not able to tell you that this metal is hot or not. You have to use your second perception, which is the touch. You touch the metal and the metal is hot, yes. And if everyone else touches the same metal and they all behave the same thing, that means yes, passing electricity to this metal plate heats it up. And you observe the experiment through your touch perception. Let's go deeper into it. The next I want to do as an experiment. I'm kind of building one stage at a time. The third experiment that we can do, so we talked about seeing something and we talked about touching something. So very common perceptions of visual and touch. The third perception we have that we can use to perform experiments and observe the experiments is audio. And what I'm asking you here is, whenever you go to a musical concert, and in that concert there are maybe 20 musicians, and each one of them have a different instrument. Some might be playing a chongo, some might be playing a keyboard, some playing drums. So there are all kinds of instruments being played, and the experiment is, when you are listening to all these sounds coming to you from all these instruments, do you have the capacity to focus only on one sound? Right? So what I would say is, okay, for me to be able to focus only on one sound, what I would need to do is, I would need to sit down at a comfortable position, at a comfortable place, and no one should come and touch me, no one should come and talk to me. I'm going to listen to this sound. The sound is, this cocktail of sound is coming to me, and my audio apparatus allows me to focus on one single instrument. And if you do not get disturbed, you have the capacity to pick up this sound. So the experiment was that, can you pick up the sound of the drum? And you said yes. With my audio apparatus, given that you do not disturb me when I'm doing this experiment, I can easily focus on one sound, and I can visualize that this guy is drumming and drumming this at this moment. And I have this, and if you ask someone else, they can also do it, and every human being can do this experiment. And they say yes, humans have the capacity to kind of pick up only one sound, and this is what we call as electronic filter, right? We can also filter, but we have to filter in our minds. It's not really as an instrument in our ears. With our mind, we can focus only on one sound. Let's complicate this a little bit more. And the second complication is, or the next complication is, imagine you are in a dark space. When I say dark space, I'm referring to, imagine that you are an astronaut and you somehow are in the open vacuum of the cosmos, and there is no sun around you. No sun around you means it's pitch dark. It's so dark that you can't even see your own hands. You can't see yourself. It is so dark. It's the blackest room ever. You do not see anything. You can't even see your own hand because there is no light outside. So your visual apparatus is of no value there. And because it's a vacuum out there, there is no sound either. So even if you touch or clap, you can't hear anything. You can't even hear yourself. You can't even hear your own sound. So your audio is not of any use there, right? And imagine that you can't touch yourself. So even you can't feel anything. Just for the sake of discussion, that you can't even feel yourself because you can't move around. You can't touch because the space suit is not allowing you. So you can't touch yourself. So imagine in this situation, the scenario is that you are aware, right? You are aware that you are alive. Yes, you are aware, but you can't see anything, as if you are blind. You can't hear anything, as if you are deaf. You can't speak, dumb. You don't feel your hands because of your position. Again, it's this part is hypothetical, but stay with me. So essentially what's happening is, here you are, you can't see anything, you can't hear anything, you have no reference of what is up, what is down, what is forward, what is behind. So to you, the concept of space is finished to you, right? And you have no concept of any perception anymore now. So if you just kind of imagine what you are right now, is you are just an awareness. That is all you are. When you can't see yourself, when you can't hear yourself, when you can't touch yourself, all you are is just this awareness. So this is, and if you take 10 people to space, they all will have the same experience, that yes, that's what we all felt, that I don't know, who am I? I'm just this awareness, that's all I am. I can't even confirm to you that I have this physical body, but I am aware that this thing exists. Let's go to the last step of our experimentation. And what we'll do in this experiment is we'll try to hold a thought in our minds. What we're talking about? We are talking about, let's say you have this photo frame, and in this photo frame there is this sun in the middle. And what I'm asking you to do is, first of all, make yourself comfortable, sit at one place, don't allow anyone to disturb you, no touches, no talking. You keep your eyes closed so that you don't see anything, and preferably go into sort of a darker room, and then you see this photo frame. You are sitting comfortably and you see the photo frame, and in the photo frame you focus on the sun. So in your imagination you are only looking at the sun, right? You can close your eyes, open your eyes and look at the sun. Close your eyes, open your eyes, again try to keep the sun in your imagination, right? Now of course what will happen is, when you do this experiment, your body will say, wow, this looks interesting, and the body supports you. So the body doesn't bother you with anything else. The body says, okay, it seems like you are doing something magical, okay, focus on that thing, and you're focusing. And after some time the body will say, well, that's boring, enough is enough, I'm not supporting you in this, you are running a very boring experiment, right? So your body will then start to think about everything else, and it will try to break your focus from this sun. But that's kind of what the experiment is, and we'll explain this more in the coming slides. Is holding a thought in your mind, right? And that's what you do. You sit comfortably, and that's what we call as meditation. You sit comfortably and you keep only one thought in your mind, and you do not allow others to sort of disturb you, right? And this is where this course that I had taken, which is Shambhavi Mahamudra Kriya, this tells you and this teaches you how to maintain focus for longer duration. It's a very good course when you want to learn this thing about meditation. Now, so this was the experiment that I just talked about. How does things happen when you do the experiment? Let's understand things from a scientific perspective. So what we need is, the first thing is you need to sit comfortably, right? And this is where you need physical flexibility, because if you want to sit down, let's say for half an hour, you do not want your body to disturb you. You sit cross-legged, your joints should not come and pain you and bother you, and you cannot even sit for half an hour, because now the body is becoming stiff, your joints are paining, this is paining, that is paining. So first thing you need is, you need some kind of physical ability that allows you to sit at one place undisturbed, motionless for half an hour. Even your stomach, you should be most likely empty, most preferably empty stomach, so that even your stomach doesn't start growling inside you while this experiment is being conducted. Then we have to try to focus, and something comes up that's called the survival instinct. We haven't talked about it, so for now just forget about this part of it, right? Just forget that this is there. So you start with the Hatha Yoga, you bring enough flexibility in your body, and what you do, you sit down. You sit down and you do the thought experiment. You start thinking in your imagination, only the sun, only the sun, only the sun, right? All the time, only the sun. Now what happens, or what you have to also do is, as you are sitting, you are required to slow down your breaths. So instead of, let's say you might be doing around 10 to 12 breaths per minute, when you sit down, you have to slowly and deliberately, comfortably start slowing down your breath. So very slow breathing, right? At the same time, you are focusing on the sun. So two things you are doing, or rather three things: sitting comfortably, focused, and you are slowing down your breaths. Now what is happening is, as you slow down your breath, right, you are depriving your body of oxygen. Or depriving is not the right word, but you are deliberately giving the body less food. Keep in mind, breath or oxygen is also food to the body. So you are feeding the body less and less food. And less food going into the body essentially means less and less food going to your brain as well, to your mind. So if you go empty stomach and if you go slow breathing, essentially what you are saying is, I'm feeding as less energy to my body. So the body will disturb you very, let's say, less. It won't disturb you more as you are performing this focus experiment. So for the focus part of it, you are maintaining the focus. But what you are doing is, by going empty stomach and by breathing slowly, you are feeding the body less and less of oxygen, and this helps the body to settle down even more, and the body doesn't disturb you much. And that's kind of what happens in this process. And then, because your mind is now receiving less of food or less of oxygen, plus it's focused. Now imagine that you are in a movie hall, and the movie is so exciting, and you are just focused on the movie. Wow! And if in that focus somebody is trying to talk with you, and he says, "Hey, listen," and you don't even listen. You don't even pay attention to what they said. In fact, to you, that person did not say anything because your memory did not register that, right? So when you are so focused, your body doesn't pay attention to the perception or to the sensory organs, as if the sensory organs are just kind of being put down or put off. So if the body thinks that your focusing is much more interesting than anything else, the body by itself maintains the focus and it shuts down the sensory perception. And that's what happens, that you start to have a loss of your sensory perception, right? You don't feel the touch, you don't feel the hearing, even if somebody is saying something to you, if you maintain the focus and if you maintain low levels of energy in the body, right? Now what will happen is, as I said, slow breathing. But what you are doing is, you are the one breathing when you are focusing, right? Now usually when you are sleeping, right, when you sleep, let me ask you, do you breathe or the body is breathing? In fact, almost all the time the body is breathing for you, even when sleeping. But when you're performing this experiment, you have to breathe. The body will not breathe for you. So when you are breathing, and you're breathing slowly, and when you're breathing, that's kind of what is distinguishing between you breathing or you sleeping. If you think that when you're performing this experiment, and of course the body is indeed tired, the body is low on energy, and the body would want to sleep. It's a very normal thing that when the body wants to sleep, because of the situation you have created. Now here again, I'm talking about when you're performing this experiment, you're empty stomach and you're breathing slowly, so that energy levels in the body is really going down, it's becoming tired a little bit, so the body wants to sleep as well. And the only way you can tell when you're performing this experiment is, if I'm breathing myself, that means I'm awake. But if I am not breathing myself, that means I've slept. And it's fine, it's perfectly normal to sleep on and off when you're doing this thing, right? But that's kind of what happens, right? Now a point will come where even the breathing part of it, you will pass on to the body, right? You will pass on to the body. So the body, you have to first take control of the breathing, drop the energy level, maintain the focus so that you're always awake and not sleeping. So right, and if you do this more and more, practice yourself more and more, you will eventually reach a place where you do not feel the body at all. Nothing. You don't feel anyone talking to you. You don't feel anyone trying to touch you. So essentially what happens is that not just the sensory perceptions, even the breathing part of it has again been outsourced to the body, right? So where it belongs, you kind of give it back to it. And all you are, if you think about it, that as I gave you the example of the body in the cosmos, you can't see anything, you can't hear anything, you can't touch anything, but you still know you are alive. Even when the perceptions, the sensory perceptions are gone, you still know you are alive, right? And that's what happens if you practice this, and you now are in the same situation as you would be in the space, but you are alive. That you are the awareness focusing on something, and you are so damn focused on whatever you are thinking about, maybe just focusing on emptiness, that you don't feel the body at all. You just do not feel the body at all. And this is what we call as the state of nirvana, or this is also called the self-realization, where you realize that in this state of the body, when you do not even feel the body, you are not outside of it, right? The awareness is not outside the body, but you are not experiencing the body. So this state of the body, there are different names. Nirvana state is one, self-realization is one, and in this is what we call as a spiritual experience also, right? So in this experience, you do not feel the body, and I again repeat, it's not an out of body experience. It's a no body. No body means a lack of the body experience, and that's how we, let's say, a bit of a poetic expression is the self separates from the physical. It's not, again, in reality, the self, which is the awareness, it's not separating. We are not experiencing the body. There are, give me a second. We should never use the word separation, because separation means they can separate. They do not separate, but the self does not experience the body. So this is again, this is what we call as a state of nirvana, or a state of self-realization, or as we say, spiritual experience. And then what happens is, if you practice this thing with some more focus, I don't think I have the knowledge of it, so I'm kind of, so if you see these are dashed, these are the arrows, and this is a dashed arrow, so I don't know how things will move up from there, but what the yogic knowledge is that once you practice more and more of this focusing thing, what you can later experience is, you can also experience the intelligence that is running the body. Again, the universal consciousness can experience the universal intelligence. So very easy. So this part is very easy. This is what the focus of the whole yoga practice is to come at least to this point where you experience the self and not experience the body. But if you maintain focus, what you will eventually have is that you can also experience how the body is working, and this will give you the full control over the body, and that's what we call as the state of enlightenment. So this enlightenment is, as I said, the graduation of the entire yoga class. Right now, what have I experienced in this process, in this, if you want to call it a workflow? Where am I right now? Well, with the inner engineering and the Shambhavi Mahamudra Kriya course that I took, what I could do was I could gain enough flexibility to sit for 15, 20 or half an hour without my body disturbing me, right? Then I was able to overcome my survival instinct. I haven't talked about this, so for now just don't pay much attention to it. I was able to practice sitting, trying to lower my breaths and maintain the focus, and I reached to a point where I lost perception of my hands. So as I'm in this cross-legged position and I'm fully aware, I'm focused on something, I lost the perception on my hands. I could not feel my hands. And usually, when you sleep in a wrong position, you cut off the blood supply to your either legs or your hands, and they start to pain. But in this case, there was no loss of blood circulation, and there was no pain either. But all I could felt was, do I have hands? I'm not feeling my hands at all, right? And with this knowledge, I could easily extrapolate that if I was to able to practice more of this focus and breathing, eventually what should happen is, if I'm to trust the yogic knowledge, is that I lost perception of my hands, I may lose perception of my legs, and then my upper body, and then my brains, and then, as I said, the last is the breathing, which I'm breathing myself. Maybe that also passed on or gets passed on to the body. And then I'm asking myself, but I'm still awake. I'm still awake, but I cannot experience the body, or I'm not. Again, I haven't reached to that level yet, but I can very easily extrapolate whatever experience I had to this level and say, okay, I can very easily accept that yes, my awareness is separate from this body. Separate means they're not outside the body, it is in the body, it is because of the body. But I can now say that when I say, who am I am this awareness and I'm in this body. And this helps me understand how the body works in more detail. So coming to the last slide, which this is the last slide, then we go into the second part of the session. We're talking about the yoga. We talked about two different levels of experience. The first is what we call as the state of nirvana. So if you were to graduate from a yoga class, you learn things, you perform the experiments. The first stage would be, let's say this is the bachelor's of a yoga class. You become you come to a state of nirvana, which is a self-realization. So if you hear people who say, I have realized the self, that means they have achieved that level of experience where the self and the body are not the same thing. And you also know, you get the answer to the question, who am I? And then you also achieve inner peace. I'll talk about this inner peace in the coming slides, but that's kind of, it settles you down because you now understand how this body is working. And the second level of graduation is when you become the enlightened being, when you are able to control the physical. Now, because in the enlightenment stage, you not just experience the awareness, but you can also experience the intelligence that is powering up the body. And you probably have seen these yogis who are doing again, they're not really supernatural activities, but just sort of a superhuman activity or a superhuman work, where a guy like this could be sitting in pile of snow and he's okay because he has understood that the intelligence that the body is working with, it's you can shut that thing down and you don't feel the cold anymore, right? And you maintain the focus, and even if there are insects biting you, you don't feel the pain, you don't allow the pain to come to you. So you kind of become the master of this body, right? And the last is in this part is the samadhi. The word samadhi means that any enlightened guy or a person can kill the body very easily. Now, usually, let's take an example, right? The example is if you stop your breath, right? You're standing here, you stop your breath. Now, after 10 seconds, your body will create the urge to breathe because the energy level or the oxygen level in the body is going down, and your mind, the mind system knows that it must push you. Come on, start breathing. Why are you holding the breath? You have the ability to hold your breath, right? The body is pushing you. The mind is pushing you. Breathe, breathe, breathe. So in that process, the fluttering, will become intense, more and more and more intense. You will become like a dying crow, fluttering all over, right? But what a yogi is able to do is, because the yogi or the enlightened being has so much control over the body, that this urge to breathe, it is happening. It is definitely happening. But you do not allow your organs, your body parts, your limbs to respond to it. You kind of put a break to that urge. I don't need it. Keep it there. So if you want to understand this from a perspective of the nervous system, right? So somewhere in the nervous system, we don't know where exactly is this intelligence, right? We don't know where is this information stored, that if the oxygen level drops, do something. The limbs don't have it. I know that limbs are not the one that is creating this, right? So somewhere in your mind system is pushing the nerves, and the nerves then push the muscles, which is the body, to flutter. The fluttering is a message to the body, please breathe, right? But if you are a yogi and you have control over this intelligence, you can put a barrier and you can say, I am not responding, or I'm not allowing the nervous system to pass on that message to breathe. And if you put a break at the not the brain, but at the mind level, your body is just laying down as if nothing is happening, even though in the body the oxygen levels are dropping. So you stop breathing after 30 seconds, maybe a couple of minutes, the oxygen level in the body is dropping, but you are so in control of your nervous system that you do not allow that nervous system to pass on the twitch to the various organs. And then you simply see the body oxygen levels dropping, and within 5-6 minutes the oxygen levels have dropped, but you still do not allow the body to flutter, and then you eventually start losing organs, and then the body dies. That's what we call as samadhi, and this is, in my assessment, how it should happen. You get so much control of your body, your own body, that you can drop the oxygen levels, and then you just simply die. Now, when you are in a yoga position, people like these, we have heard different stories that people have been sitting there. What can happen is that these guys have so much control that even with a little bit of oxygen that they are getting, they can keep the body alive with it, right? And they have so much control that they don't let the organs die. They don't drop the oxygen level that low that the organs start to die. They maintain that basic level of oxygen in the body, and then again, that's kind of the mastery that enlightened beings have over their bodies. Right? That's kind of the scientific and biological perspective. Right? Now we talked about yoga and we talked about this. Let's still call it airy fairy stuff, right? If you want to call this. So how is this knowledge useful to me? 3 things. First is, we are born to seek this knowledge, right? We all have this quest. Who am I? Who am I? Everybody is asking this. So this is not specific to few people. It's to do with the whole humanity, right? And yoga answers who you are. The second thing is, in the Indian tradition, in the Indian culture, the Hinduism, not the right word, probably the word is Sanatan Dharma. And as I said, this tradition is mixed with yoga. And what we are taught is that in our cultures, we are seekers, we are not believers. We don't believe in the God, we don't believe in a book. We believe in, we seek to know the truth. And this seeking, and I would always ask myself, well, what exactly are we seeking? Or what should I seek? That no one ever says. All they say is seek. In fact, what they are saying is seek mukti, or seek freedom, or seek liberation. What exactly does it mean? We'll try to understand. And the last in this segment is that, and the reason we are learning about yoga and why yoga is becoming very important in our current day is because in the absence of some right answers. So if you say, who am I? If you don't get the answer to who you are, and in fact, the body manifests this desire in many ways. If you do not handle this, you may become uh, mentally stressed, even depressed, and once you get depressed, you take your life, right? And that's kind of where this knowledge is going to be useful. Right, so with this we have completed the first part of the session. I know it's nearly an hour and a half mostly, and this was, as I said, still a lot of it is airy fairy stuff, a lot of it. Some of you might be saying, this is, I still don't buy it. Anyways, no problems. The second part of it, which is where we are going to introduce the word karma, the big buzzword of our times, and we'll try to build up on this, and then we'll combine all the knowledge to come up with the final assessment and the final knowledge. So let's talk about karma, and let's talk about the survival instinct. So we are going to be focusing on survival of this body and how is karma linked to it. Before we go into karma, let's do a simple experiment. Now this ship, we know that around almost 100 years ago, plus minus, there was a beautiful ship called Titanic, and the Titanic ship went and crashed into an iceberg, and so many people died. Now on that ship, assume that there was the captain, and the captain had only one life jacket left, and there were two guys, and both of them were saying, please give this life jacket to me, I want to save myself. And this is me freaking out because I can see my death if I don't get this life jacket, and this guy is also there, and by the rule book the captain is not allowed to use this life jacket for himself. That's kind of the moral obligation that this captain has taken. So he will want to die, or he will have to die, but before that he has to pass on this life jacket to this guy or this guy. So the question is, if this captain were to give this life jacket, who will he give it to? No points for guessing, because I am a very small little guy with no social influence. This guy, Elon Musk, he's rich, super influential, and if he says, well, I think I deserve it, the captain says, well, yes, you owe to the society much more than this guy does. So the life jacket goes to Elon Musk. Elon Musk survives, the captain tanks, and so do I. So we both die, and the Elon Musk survives. Now you might say, well, what has this situation to do with yoga or something? Well, the entire human behavior is controlled by this one little thing. I'll explain this in the coming slides, but remember this slide where the rich, the influential guy survives because he gets the life jacket. Let's kind of build up, right? So we are looking at understanding our body, and as I said, I tried to give an example that the man has a pet dog, and if you want to understand how the pet dog works, the best way is that you are not the dog yourself, right? The same way, how this body works, the best approach, the best way is you understand. First, you separate yourself from the body. Again, separate is not the right word, but you experience yourself as the body, and now you can very easily experience how is this body working, what kind of intelligence is running this body. Before we go into that, give me a second. So we are looking at when a baby is born. So we are going to the very basic, to the very ground zero, when a human being is born, right? Now, when a human being is born, the process of birth, just the process of birth, is very painful to the mother, and I'm sure to the baby as well. And not just painful, it's a life-threatening event. Again, both for the baby and the mother. And if you Google the statistics, what you will see is that nearly 200,000 deaths occur all across the globe every year because of the complications linked to the pregnancy and childbirth, right? So a very dangerous, life-threatening event is what a baby has to go through, and the mother also has to go through. Now, if you say, well, we came from the chimpanzees or the monkey family, and if you go back and see in the jungles, the chimpanzees don't have this problem. right? They don't really suffer from a highly dangerous process or life-threatening process of birth. They probably give birth fairly easy, right? And not just the chimpanzees, all across the planet, all the various species, like in this case, this seahorse. This seahorse is producing babies in hundreds, and there is no life-threatening situation either to the babies or to the seahorse. Now the baby can die later on because someone ate it up, but the process of the life or the process of birth by itself is not a life-threatening event, right? So how come human beings got into a evolutionary stage where the process of birth itself is a life-threatening event? So that's kind of one challenge that human beings are born with, that just the process of birth itself can be a life-threatening event. Next one is, even when we are born, and if you see, we usually do not or cannot walk for the first year. We have to lay down at one place. Our parents have to feed us food. We cannot hold anything. We can't even eat anything ourselves. We can't go and eat anything. So when we are born, we are entirely at the mercy of our parents to feed us, to take care of us, to protect us. And not just the first year, even let's say up to an age of 10, we are a very weak species. If you look at a cat in this case, a cat could be 6 months to 1 year, and this cat has enough strength to take down a boy which is, let's say, even 10 years. So forget about a boy or a baby who is only 2 years. Even a 10-year-old boy, a cat can easily take it down. I can easily see my son running away from a cat when the cat wants to jump on the baby, on a 10-year-old boy. So the point I'm trying to make is, we have this challenge of getting born because the whole process is life-threatening. And not just that, even after we are born, we have a very long time where we can protect ourselves. So usually you can say anywhere from 18 to 20 years is when we develop physical capabilities of protecting ourselves from at least the smaller animals around us, and we can try to gather food ourselves. So we might not need people around us as much, but when we are born, and for the first 10-15 years, we cannot survive by ourselves, right? That's kind of the introduction to the process of birth. Now, when it comes to survival, and as I said, the process of birth is life-threatening event, so there has to be human beings around the mother and the baby to take care of this process of birth and even after that. So for me to survive, so if I am the one which is the baby, I can only survive just the process of birth if I have a ton of a number of humans around me, and let's call this group of humans as the tribe. So my survival, if I am the baby, depends on the tribe around me, right? That's kind of the first thing. The second thing is not just the presence of human beings. We also want, or I also want, that these tribesmen to be knowledgeable. Knowledgeable in what? In the food. Because when I'm born, I do not know what is good for me to eat and what is not. I may eat something bad and then I'm dying. So these human beings, they have to have some knowledge of the food to feed me. Which foods are good for me and which foods are bad for me. And not just the food, even the clothing. I may be born in a very cold climate, and then I need some kind of protection for myself so that I don't die because of the cold, or I don't want to die because of the water or because of the heat. So the human beings must also have the knowledge of clothing. The third thing that human beings must also possess is the knowledge of medicines. If I'm running around and I fall down, I get a little cut on my skin, I need some kind of medication from my tribe to heal my wound. And if there's an insect bite, I also need some kind of herbs from my tribe to protect me. right? Again, for the first 10-15 years, I'm at the mercy of my tribe. I also need my tribe to have a good knowledge of making a home, or let's call this engineering, because I need to be protected. I must be in a house, and the house should be strong enough so that I can survive in it. The house can withstand rains, maybe withstand cold weathers, snowfalls, all kinds of things. And if you have to cross a river, then the tribe should have the knowledge of how to make a boat. Weapons. The tribe must have the knowledge of the weapons, because if there's a lion that comes to the tribe, then my tribemen should be able to shoot down or protect the tribe from the animal that are charging on us. I also want my tribe to be explorative. That means if we are at one place and we consume all the resources of the place, we should be willing to leave that place and go to another place and explore the options in those places. So we should have this exploratory mind, or the knowledge that, okay, how to go and where to go and do what when you go there. And the last in this category is communication. So I want my tribe to have a good language system so that we can communicate with each other. We can, if I'm in the forest and I see a danger, I must be able to communicate precisely what the danger is, how far the danger is, so that my tribemen can defend themselves based on the knowledge and the communication I'm giving them. So if you see, my survival is not just based on the presence of human beings around me, but is also based on how knowledgeable they are, right? And from my survival perspective, I want my tribe to know so many things, right? So essentially, the summary of this slide, just give me a second. The summary of this slide is that if I am the baby, my survival depends entirely on the tribe, and the tribe must also be smart enough, knowledgeable enough. I call this know-how seeking. So they must be know-how seeking tribe. And in fact, if you see this huge list of things, actually it makes us the smartest species on this planet, right? I, as a baby, might be very, very weak, at least for my first 10, 15 years, 20 years. But as a species, there is so much that our species do and we are good at: food, clothing, machines, right? And everything is not coming without a reason. The reason that human beings have to be able to do all these things is because I can survive, or I mean the baby of the community can survive, or the baby of the human species can survive. So if I think I'm smart because I can protect myself, or I'm intelligent so that I can protect myself. I'm also intelligent so that I can protect the babies, right? So, and if you just see that we are so different from other animals, that we are a species of our own, and we are at the top of the food chain because of all these things on our planet, and in fact in the known universe. There is no better life system or a life form than the human beings. And again, moving on, right? So we talked about that from my perspective as a baby, my survival depends purely on the presence of the tribe, right? Now, what I should do as a baby is I should be always trying to be close to the tribe for my safety, because if I go away, I don't know what to eat and how to protect myself. So my safety, again, when I'm born, I don't know that I have to be with the tribe for my survival. I do not know that, right? So my survival, the nature knows that my survival as a baby is dependent on me becoming and being part of the tribe, being part of the society. And keep in mind, the nature does not leave anything to chance. The nature will never do that. I am born and now I have to figure out that I must go to the society. No, the nature does not leave anything to chance. What do I mean by that? Let's look at an example. Let's say that we as human beings have to design a driverless car, right? So let's look at this example where we have to devise a driverless car. And what all would be the thought process that you are looking at? We are looking at, I need to make a car driverless. I need some kind of sensors, and one set of sensors will keep me in the lane. So I need to put that programming into the car to use the sensors and keep the car in the lane. And then I will also put some sensors to avoid a collision with the other cars. So I stay focused. The car ahead of me should not be too close. The car behind me should not be too close. So I have two kinds of systems that are working together to keep this car safe. I also need to give this car some kind of, let's say, ethical solution. What I'm talking about, let's say this driverless car is going and the owner of the car is inside the car, and from somewhere a group of human beings or animals come on the road. Now this car has to decide what it should do. Two options. One is there are 10 people on the road and one guy in the car. Is it not good that the car by itself crash into a nearby ditch or a tree, thereby very likely killing the owner of the car, but 10 people are saved? The other option is I can program the car as is I don't care about the people on the road. What they are doing is an illegal work, and the guy in the car should survive. So the car, I can program the car that irrespective of what happens, if you can't stop safely, just go and crash into the people, thereby saving the life of the driver. So I, as the maker of this driverless car, have to use the sensors, which is the easier bit, and then goes into the first challenge is how should the car respond to this situation, right? Because this is controlling the life of the guy sitting in the car. The next challenge in making this driverless car is, imagine that you have to go from point A to point B, and there are two options available. The first option is, which is the shortest path, but it has a lot of potholes, and if the car go on this kind of a road, the car will obviously get damaged and the life expectancy of the car will drop. But the longer route is a very smooth paved road, right? So I now, as the programmer of the car, has to feed into the logic that if you ever see a situation like this, do not take this path, because this path is all bad and this will definitely reduce the life of the car. But if you take this, yes, you will take more time, but this route will be less damaging to the car. So again, what I'm kind of coming to is, if I was the programmer of this machine, I am thinking at all the aspects that will give the car the longest duration of life. One example is, do not take the easier way, take the longer way if that ensures you a longer life, right? So I am always, as a programmer of the driverless car, I have to think about all the situations that the car must be able to take a decision by itself. And nowadays we have cloud processing, so I can also connect the car to the cloud and maybe let the cloud control the car in some situations, right? Now, how is this thing linked to the survival of the baby that I was talking about? Now, if you go back to the situation, right? Now, as I said, the nature has made the baby, and the nature knows that the survival of the baby is purely dependent on the drive. So the nature wants this baby to somehow understand that you must be in the society all the time, because that gives you protection. Now again, I repeat, the baby does not know anything about how it can survive. It needs some kind of push from outside, and that's what it means, that the way the nature communicates with the baby is through chemicals, because we are a chemical body, right? That is all we are, a bunch of chemicals. Let's come back again. I'm coming to the end of this little topic here that talks about that we are a chemical body, right? And we are a chemical body from top to bottom. And nature, when I'm born as a baby, the nature communicates with me through these chemicals, right? So when I do something, the nature creates in me some kind of chemicals. Again, keep in mind that when I do something, it's the body that is creating these chemicals, right? It is the intelligence in the body to create these chemicals, right? That's kind of what we are coming down to. And there are two kinds of chemicals that we learn about. One is a chemical that, let's call it a feel-good chemical, but keep in mind, the feel-good is not just, it doesn't only give you good feeling, it also gives you health. The second kind of chemicals is the feel-bad chemicals. And here again, it's not just that the chemicals that the body makes is only giving you a good feeling or bad feeling. Good feelings comes with health, and bad feelings comes with ill health, right? It's like a carrot and stick. So let's say if I was the creator of this body, right? I want this baby to go to the tribe all the time, seek the tribe, right? But how do I tell the baby? So the way I say it is, okay, I will use a carrot and stick approach, right? So if the baby does something and that thing is good for its survival, that means that action of the baby promotes going to the tribe, the body will make the feel good chemicals. And if the baby is doing something that is wrong, or that is taking the baby away from the society, I should make sort of a stick chemical that no, you're doing things wrong, do the other way. So it is the intelligence in the body that will tell you if you are doing something good. Now the way when I say something good means whatever you are doing is taking you closer to the tribe, and bad means whatever you are doing is taking you away from the tribe. So keep in mind that the good thing and the bad thing. So if you do something that takes you to the tribe, the body will make some feel good chemicals for you, and you will feel happy, you will feel charged. If you do something you're going away from the tribe, that means your survival is going to be at risk. So the body is going to make you kind of a feel bad stick chemical that what you're doing is wrong, don't do this, please, right? So the nature has programmed our body in such a way that if I do the good stuff, good means I go to the tribe, I get rewarded with the feel good chemicals, and the body also has this program, the programming in the body, that if I do something bad means I'm going away from the tribe, then I get some negative chemicals or feel bad chemicals. And this intelligence in the body, you can call it a program, because that's what we call when we program the car. The same way the nature is programming us, right? The same way you can call them codes, the codes that this body has to follow, or you can call them programs, or what we say in yogic language is the word karma. So our body has this intelligence, which is what we call as the karma, and we are born with it. I'll come to that as well. So this programming that the body has, it's a standalone code. I'm not connected to the cloud like in the case of a car. So I'm a standalone body. I have some intelligence running, and this intelligence is seeking my survival. The same way I designed the car to prioritize the survival of the body and the car itself. So same way our programming is for the survival of the body. And we know that the survival, I cannot survive myself. I can only survive if my tribe is next to me. So I must be pushed by the nature to go and be with the tribe, because if you be with the tribe, that is where your survival is. So the body is always pushing me. and if I do something not right, I kind of get a stick chemical. Now there are two kinds of these programs. You can call them the software or the programs or the intelligence in the body. There is this external type, the E, and the internal type. We'll spend 3-4 slides on each one of these because this is important. This is the practical knowledge that we all should have knowledge of. So external karma. Karma means the software or the intelligence that exists in the body, right? So this intelligence is in the body, and this intelligence that we are referring to as karma is only for our survival, right? It is not for anything else. It is not for my pleasure. If I like an apple or a pear, that's not karma. That's just the way the body is, right? But if that reaction of the body is for my survival, we call that intelligence or that software in the body as the karma. And there are two that I will talk about: external and the internal. And when we say this internal intelligence, the way we feel is we feel that these are compulsions, right? Sometimes I'll talk about them in the next slide as well, that you are compelled to do something. Nobody's saying you to do something. You're just compelled. I'll give you an example. And that's kind of what the baby also goes through, that what we say is compulsion. The baby also, if you were to ask a baby, the baby will also say, I don't know why I do this. I just do this, or I've been like, I feel motivated to do this thing, or I feel compelled to do this thing. I'll explain this with an example. Let's take a case where we are trying to describe here that how a baby has this push, the intelligence push into the society, right? Just give me a second. So let's say a baby goes out to the park and he starts playing, and then he starts playing with other human beings, other babies. Now a baby loves this thing, right? Every kid, they love to play around in the park. Now even if, let's say this baby in the process of playing can get hurt, they want to climb a tree, they can fall from the tree, so they can die. So that activity which we call as playing by itself is a dangerous activity. But because the body sees that there are other human beings around me, so the body will say, this is good for your survival. The process of playing by itself may be bad, but because you are now going into the society and you are surrounded by people, that is good for your survival. So the body makes these good chemicals and you feel happy. So when you say, I enjoy playing with others, the way to decode this code is that when you play with others, the body responds in a positive way because the body knows that it is good for your survival, right? That's kind of the thing. And the other part of it is, if this boy doesn't choose the group, or the group doesn't allow him to play, the boy gets sad. And we have all heard this, kids coming and saying that no one likes to play with me, and this guy is definitely sad. Now when I say again, try to decode this word, I'm happy and I'm sad, it's the body naturally creating this emotion in you which you call as happiness and sadness. And essentially it's the body's way of telling you, you are doing something which is good for your survival, that's what is happiness. And sadness means that the body is saying, well, what you are doing is not good for your survival, so please. And when I say in this context, the survival is only about going to the tribe, going into the society, right? Now kind of the summary is that acceptance by society makes you happy. That's what we have seen. That's what we know, that we feel happy being in a group of people, right? Why happiness? Because that's the intelligence in our body creating these good chemicals. And the second is when there is a rejection from society, you start to feel sad, and that's what the body is creating. Now you might say it's only with the babies. Well, it's not just with the babies. Our societies are kind of built around this acceptance by society. if you have heard about honor killings, in which full-grown adults are killing their own family members, because the assumption is that those guys have or are bringing a bad status of our family, and this may force the society to reject us. So this fear of rejection by society may eventually lead me to kill one of my family member, and that's what is honor killing. And it's being practiced all across the globe in whatever proportions we have these days. But the root cause of it is rejection by society, because your actions have brought me this thing. And this is what we call as the internal karma, right? And we'll now look at three kinds of karmas, the three kinds of internal karma, right? So need for society. So we again kind of summarizing back is that when a baby is born, the baby is pushed into the society. That's what the baby is compelled by the natural intelligence, right? And there are three ways in which we experience this. There are three different ways in which we experience this compulsion or this push or this programming, right? And let's, for the sake of discussion, to keep the screen tidy, we call this internal karma. And this internal karma, I would like to again I say here that the word karma refers to the intelligence or the programming of the body that is pushing you to go into the society purely for the purpose of your survival. That's kind of what the word karma means. And if you're looking at internal karma, the word internal means that you are born with it. You are born with this compulsion, or you're born with this intelligence, and nobody has taught you this post your birth. So the first one is where your survival is from an external threat. So let's say you are as a baby in the forest, right? And you see a lion coming, right? Now by design, you want to run not towards the lion, but you want to run towards the tribe, right? That's kind of a natural intelligence we all have, right? To run away, right? Not just run away from the lion, but run towards the tribe. That is all. It's an intelligence that we're all born with, and that's what we call as the internal karma. You can call it IK1, because there are three kinds of internal karmas. The first is that when you run to the society, your survival is only by being in the society, right? You don't have to do anything. You just go to the society, and that presence of society ensures your survival. And this is usually from, let's call this external threats. You can have a lion or a wolf coming to you, and your tribe is smart enough to handle this lion or tribe. So you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is make sure that you run to the society. And that's the intelligence that we have, and that's the internal karma, which is the one. The first, so again, I reiterate, the IK1 refers to the protection or the survival from threats that are external to the society. Now the second IK1, or IK2 rather, give me a second. The second internal karma that I'm referring here is the threat that is within the society, right? So the lion here has been taken care of. So you being part of the society ensures your survival. And the body is promoting you to be part of the society. The second compulsion or the second intelligence that you have is from a threat that is inside the society. So if I was this boy, right, now from my perspective, these people are very close to me, and they have a chance to kill me. If they don't like me for whatever reason, they can kill me. So I need some kind of push or some kind of intelligence within me that will save me from these guys, right? So I'm now dealing with a threat that is internal to the society. So what happens here, and again, we all know that humans are also animals at the end of the day, and we can all freak out for whatever reason. So I need to protect myself from the guys or human beings next to me. So what has the nature done for this thing? So the nature has made in us this intelligence or this programming that how about you learn how to fight, right? How about you motivate yourself to go and physically take the pain of learning some special skills. I'm talking about as kids, we have all read magazines of these superhumans. So when I was a baby or a young boy, I've read stories of Super Commando Dhruv, Nagaraj. These days, the kids are seeing comics and movies about Captain America, the Hulk. Essentially, again, if you decode this, when you read a magazine, or when you hear a story, or when you see a video or a movie where a man has achieved so much strength that this man can actually kill so many other human beings without inviting any assistance. So this man can kill 5-7 people fairly easy. This man can also do that. This man can do that. This man can do that. And this is the way the body is motivating you. That, hey, when you hear stories and when you receive the knowledge that a human being can be like this, you want to also be like that, because you know somewhere in your consciousness or somewhere in your body, the intelligence that you're born with, which is what I'm calling as IK2, you know that somewhere the people around you can come and kill you. So the body is trying to motivate you to please go and learn something, and you will only learn something if you hear about it, if you know about it. So all these stories and magazines, if you remember when we started, that why do we love such stories of superhumans and supernatural things happening? All they are doing is, when you hear a story like this, the body says, wow, that's great. How about you also do that, right? You don't just hear a story to hear the story. You hear the story, the body motivates you that how about you also learn something and you also improve your self-defense, right? Now, to give you an example, when you are seeing a movie, let's say of Arnold Schwarzenegger, a tough-looking guy, powerful, don't you feel motivated to do what he has done? And again, a tough guy means he can kill at least 4 or 5 people all by himself. Or if you have seen the movies of Bruce Lee, where the Bruce Lee, his knowledge of martial arts, and he can protect himself from 5-6 people fairly easy, and you also feel motivated looking at that person, and you say, well, if that guy can do this, I can do that as well. It's good for my survival. So the body is creating that emotion in you. The body is creating that compulsion that please you also do it. And this is where this programming, which is I'm calling it as IK2, comes in, and you are now motivated to improve your self-defense skills. But we are talking about this desire or this programming that motivates you to do something, and only for your survival, not for your pleasure. This Hulk guy is not learning how to kill others for pleasure. All he's doing this is for his survival. The third one, which is a little complex, it's not straightforward to understand and explain. Give me 2-3 slides. I'm going to reiterate in trying to pass on the concept. So the IK1 was about a threat external to the society. The IK2 was a threat from the guy next to you. The IK3 is a different kind of threat, and we have to deal this with what we call as the worth index. Our worth that may help us our survival. Let's look at this. Right now, everybody is asking these questions. This one single question. So I would have 2 questions, right? The first is, who am I? And once that thing is over, the next question everybody is asking is, what am I good for? Right? I'm a useless guy who doesn't do anything, who doesn't know anything. right? I'm totally gonna die one day, worthless, right? Again, has anyone taught me this thing? No. So why is my body creating these emotions or these compulsions where I'm asking, what am I good for? What is a lion good for? What is a cat good for? What is a tree good for? So why am I asking this question? What am I good for? Right? Essentially, it all, if you decode this question is one way of expressing the intelligence the body is asking you. Is how about you go to society and then society determines your worth? Because when we say, what am I good for? Essentially, you are saying, what am I worth? What is my worth? And my worth is not determined by me. My worth is determined by society, right? So that by itself means that somehow the intelligence in my body is pushing me to go into the tribe. Because in order to determine my worth, the tribe must be there, because the worth part is not determined by me, it's determined by the tribe. So again, there is a push to go into the tribe, right? Let's understand this more, right? Now, what is this worth thing I'm talking about? Let's explain this with the example I gave you before, right? Let's go back to this example where the Titanic is sinking and this human being has a life jacket, and he decides if I live or Elon Musk lives. And I know very well that my social worth is way less than the worth of this gentleman, right? So very likely the life jacket goes to this guy who has much higher social worth, and I get to sink with the ship, right? Now this is also linked to my survival, right? But where is the threat? The threat, let's kind of recap. IK1, the threat was external to the society. IK2, the threat was internal to the society. The guy next to me, he should not be able to kill me. And the third threat is, you can call it a threat on the society as a whole, right? So again, stay with me. So in this situational threat, if you want to call this, in this situation, one human being gets to decide if I survive or not, right? So this is a conditional or a situational threat to my life. And the only way I can survive this situation is if I increase my worth, my social worth, as you may call it, right? This guy has more, so he survives. I have less, but if I had more, I would also survive. So nature knows this thing. Nature knows that within the society, there may be a conditional threat to my survival. So nature wants me to improve my worth. Nature wants to make a situation where if I do something that improves my worth, the nature will reward me with happy chemicals, right? And if I do not do something that improves my worth, nature says, well, you're not improving your worth. There may be a day when your worth will decide your survival. So how about I give you kind of a stick? Please, you're doing something wrong, right? So this programming is what we are calling as the karma. Again, I'm repeating here. So this is what we are referring to, this intelligence that is pushing us to improve our worth index, right? Now, our entire societies are arranged around this concept. And what we say, again, I'm decoding this worth index. So what we see in society, we see in the society competition everywhere. So humans are competing with each other at every level. Why they are competing? Because they are trying to improve their worth. I'll explain this. Now, if I take you back, have you seen chimpanzees competing with each other? Very often, they might be playing around, that's fine, but they're not really competing with each other. Have you seen cats, dogs, any other animal? so socially organized for competition because they don't need to. When they are born, they are fairly strong enough and they can survive themselves. To give you an example, the same chimpanzee where we come from, a chimpanzee is born, let's say the mother dies immediately. That chimpanzee, that baby chimpanzee, it has enough intelligence in the body, enough physical strength to maybe climb a tree, pluck a fruit and stay there, and if there is no serious threat, the chimpanzee can very likely survive on its own. So the intelligence in the body is there to keep the chimpanzee baby going. But for us, it's not there. So for us, we have these compulsions, the IK1, IK2 and IK3. So I'm explaining this moving up, right? So what we do is, when we organize competitions, the idea being that the worth of this human being increases, right? So this guy has very little social worth, but as you compete and defeat in the competition more and more people, your social worth increases. And the body is, or the intelligence in the body is promoting this thing, that when you are participating, right, when you are participating in a race, we all want to race, we all like to race, right? We don't want to lose, that's a different story, but we all want to participate. Why? Because when you say you are participating, the body is creating in you this happy chemical. Oh, participation means, first of all, you are in the tribe, right? You are joining other human beings. That ensures your survival. And then when you are increasing your worth, nature knows that this body needs this for this situation. Let's explain this again. Let's understand, because this is important. I'm going to spend a few slides on this, talking in more detail. So what we have learned is our worth may dictate our survival in some situation, and the body knows this thing, and the body is pushing you. Again, keep in mind, the baby is not born with this intelligence to know this can happen, that can happen. The nature has this fed into the body, right? Now there are two things that we do. Again, there are things we do in our societies that increases our worth. The first one is competition, right? And when I say competition, it's about all kinds of competition. It could be a race, it could be we play football, we play soccer, we even do exams, kind of a competition exams. So we all like it. Again, we don't like losing, but we like winning. Again, if you decode what is the meaning of liking to win and not liking to lose, is because the body is creating these chemicals, which again comes from the programming we have. And there are all kinds of competitions we are organized, right? Our societies are essentially built on competition. Everything in our lives is all about competition, right? And keep in mind that when we are competing or when we are participating, let's say this guy here, who's the first guy, and he gets this medal. Now, this guy is not participating for the medal, and this guy is also not participating for the money. This guy is participating for the appreciation. The only thing that this guy wants is appreciation, because appreciation means that your social worth is increasing. I'll give you an example. Suppose there was a running race between 5 people, and the guy who wins just goes home. Nobody comes and appreciates his effort to win the race. Nobody gives the guy some money, and nobody gives the guy any medal. This will be a very boring race, and I'm not participating in that race at all again. Essentially, if you look back, I am looking for appreciation. So every time I do some effort, I want society to appreciate my effort. So I am looking for appreciation. Now there may be some monetary benefits like money, there may be some medal or something, but I'm not really participating. As a human body, I'm not participating for prize, I'm not participating for money. I am participating for appreciation, and appreciation means my social worth is slowly increasing, right? Now again, that's what I'm participating for, my worth index in the society, right? The second way we increase our worth, or what we feel we must do, is leadership, right? In schools, we all want to be the class monitor, right? When we become the class monitor, now there will be challenges later on, but to become, we all want to be, because that is a leadership position. The same thing happens at the corporate, right? We all want to do tough kind of projects where I want to lead. If there is a financial stress, we all have our ideas. We all want to become the leaders. We all want to lead the corporate out of this turmoil. And when it comes to political, that's the same situation that in politics. Politics means you have to make policies, and if two societies are in clash with each other, you want to choose people, or you want to be the leader who can save the tribe from that stressful situation, right? And again, competition is a leadership is also competition, right? Because you are now competing with other human beings. A competition is mostly voluntary, where you ask people to come together and they compete with each other. It's totally voluntary. It's you choose to participate in it. But in a leadership is mostly a forced situation where you might be required to compete with other human beings because of a stressful situation. So you may not choose, but you still want to do that. You feel happy doing that, right? So in societies, the competition is either you compete voluntarily, or you're competing on a situation. And if you kind of think a little more deeper, can human beings ever be peaceful? Now in these days, we are seeing, let's say, Russia, Ukraine / Europe and USA, and there is this political slugfest going on, and then comes Iran, where Iran wants to kind of disturb everything, and then there is Israel, and then there is this Middle East. So there is this political mess, but essentially what is happening is that there is a political competition going on. There is one person who wants to be the political leader in Russia, the political leader in Ukraine, the political leader in Europe, in US, in Iran. So this is like a leadership competition that's happening between these guys from these countries, and this is very natural to human beings, right? Why they're fighting is because they want to increase their worth index. Now you might say they are already the prime ministers of their countries, so why they still want to increase the ladder? Because that's how it is. There is no such thing as the end. Only when you are the topmost guy in that particular pyramid, you say, okay, now I'm peaceful because I have reached the worth index, right? Let's explain this again. This is what we have learned so far is the internal karma. Internal karma means nobody has taught us this compulsion. We are born with this, and there are three kinds of survival threats we are dealing with. First is a threat external to society. Second is threat internal, that means the guy next to me. And the third threat is a situational threat, right? So we have learned about this, and the karma part of it, or the intelligence part of it, is dealing only for survival, nothing else, right? Now let's look at the external karma. External karma means the learnings or the teachings we get from our society, from our tribe. And here we are. You can use the word coding, you can use the word karma, you can use the word intelligence that you receive. So external coding is like the body has allowed you to get programmed by others. So there is a natural programming in the body, which is what we're calling as internal karma, which is good for my survival. But the body also gives you the ability to get programmed by society in three different ways. We'll talk about that, right? So the tribe or the society also encodes or feeds you those programs, knowingly or unknowingly, for your survival, right? So let's look at the first one, the external karma one, right? When the tribes see the baby and they are teaching the baby some things, the very first thing that is linked to the survival part of it is that the males must provide food for the family or arrange food for the family, provide them protection, and the females must have babies and raise them, right? So this is kind of a compulsion that has been taught to me very early on in my life, and this is happening to almost everybody. Now you might say, can you give me an example? Let's say if I am working, I get married and I have babies, right? And if I lose my job and I'm not able to provide food for my family, I will have this negative emotions that the body will create in me, that I'm not fulfilling this karma of mine. So my body will create all these negative chemicals, and eventually a weak guy may commit suicide, and suicide means a threat to your life, a threat to your survival. So this teaching from society is directly linked to your survival. The second one is that for the males, it is fine if you die protecting the females and the kids, and from the female perspective, it is okay to die when you are protecting babies. So again, if you see this thing, totally against the internal karma, right? Internal karma says your protection is the most important thing for you, but then this programming comes in and it says, well, your protection is important, but how about the protection of the tribe? If the tribe is there, the species is there. So this programming kind of overrides your internal karma, which is all about survival. So you say, okay, there may be a situation where I may be required to die in order to protect my tribe, and from the male's perspective, I am okay, or that's what that is the way it's taught to me or taught to everybody, that it is okay to die if you die protecting the males, protecting the females and the babies, and then from the female side, it is okay to die if you're protecting the babies. Now how do you explain this with an example? Take the case of the same Titanic ship, where instead of just one guy, now there is a group of people, and the captain has a few number of life jackets, and the captain says, all the kids and females, please come forward. And the males, if I was the male, I would say, well, I also want to protect myself. My internal karma says that I must do whatever I can to protect myself, and all I can do is go and steal a life jacket and run away, right? But the overriding karma, which is this one, is telling me, well, it's for a better good of the society to not do that thing. So it's okay to die. I'm not going to resist. I'm not going to protest. I just simply stand there and die, if that ensures that the females and the babies are there. Invert the situation, if on that ship it was only the females and the babies. So in that situation, the captain will say, all the babies please come forward, and all the females please stay there. And the females will have no problems. Even though the internal karma says you must protect yourself, the overriding karma, the overriding knowledge, the overriding intelligence says, okay, it's fine to die, accept your death, because now the babies are safe. That's the second external karma. The third one, which is kind of very important and very practical, is the society teaches you that what are the red lines on which you can get offended, and what are the red lines where it is okay to go and kill someone. Now what does that mean? What does this mean? Suppose you are interacting with other human beings, right? And let's say one guy is cursing me, throwing abuses at me, and as a person in that tribe, I am being taught that as I'm receiving these abuses, there will be a point where I'm going to say enough is enough, and that is my point of getting offended. And when I get offended, I have this urge that tribe has taught me that I must get up and do something. This may include I go and slap the guy, or I just hit him, I harm him in whatever ways I can. So the society has taught me the red lines where I can get offended, and the societies also have created this red line where if you cross that, if that interaction becomes so foul that I will have to get up and kill you. That's kind of what has been taught to me, the intelligence that has been taught to me. As an example, right? Let's say I am from a Hindu faith and another guy is from a Muslim faith, right? Now I know what society has taught me about at what level of abuse I should get offended and at what level of abuse I should get up and ready to kill the other guy. So I have my own red lines. The other guy who has been taught a different faith, a different belief system, a different tradition, he or she has been taught a different line, a different red line. And I do not know what his lines are, or he doesn't know what my lines are. So I will not be very comfortable dealing with the other guy. For example, when we are dealing, when we are talking, sometimes there will be some situations, misunderstandings, that we will abuse each other. Now I do not know how much abuse to give him before he cross his lines of offended, and I do not know where his second line is, where the guy is offended beyond a point where he comes and kills me, right? So I would be very reluctant to deal with that guy, right? So this intelligence there that we create in our bodies these two lines, and societies teach us these lines that we can call this I come from this tribe or this culture. Essentially the society is creating these two lines. So some people may have a line that's very high up. Let's say the yogis, you can give them as much offense as you want and they'll not feel any need to reply. And you can have a guy who's so short-tempered that in the sense that societies have taught them that if you say this thing, you are crossing my offense level and I'm going to hit you. Sometimes just one statement means that you have a right to get offended and go and kill the other guy. When you have a soldier is a similar thing. A soldier is probably here where you are teaching the soldier to go and get killed on the front line because you are protecting your females and your babies and your society. Right? Now, when we say these three things, we experience them as either guilt or remorse, right? We have used these two words to express this karma. So let's say the first case where if I cannot provide for my family because I lost a job, I'll be feeling guilty, right? If I do not attend to this, if I want to save myself on top of other females and kids, I will feel again guilty, I will feel remorse. And in the same situation again here, that when you get offended and you go something, you feel guilt and remorse. So the words that represents these karmas or these intelligence or this programming are guilt and worth. Now you might say societies have taught us much more, many more things, not only these things. Well, if you look at the word karma, I started off saying that the word karma refers to the programming that is specific to your survival, right? Now everything else that society is teaching you is under the blanket term morality. So this guilt and remorse is linked to the karma of your survival, right? But when you say morality or that guy is immoral, essentially it's about a social harmony. It's about creating a social harmony so that you do not create friction between two people interacting with each other, right? So that's all kind of what the societies are teaching you in two categories, in two broad categories. One is the karma part of it, which is linked for your survival and it is experienced as guilt or remorse, and the other one, which is not linked to your survival as such, is what we call as morality, or the codes of how to deal with societies. Give me a second. Let's kind of combine together this thing we call karma. Let's summarize so that we understand this thing in more clarity. So what we started off was saying that a baby is born. So I have a representation. So age 0, the baby is born, and the baby gets old and die. So when the baby is born with this natural compulsion, or we can say the internal karma, right? And that's what it looks like. So this urge in the body to chase the society for your survival. So when you're born, you have a fairly strong urge to be part of the group, to be part of the tribe, and somewhere about 15, the reproductory karma also comes in, or the reproductory urge also comes in. So when, as a boy, if you cross this age, you see a girl, the body by itself creates attractive or attraction, and from the girl's perspective, she sees a hunk of a man, and the body creates it. Again, keep in mind, it's the body creating it. So it has been programmed already to respond in this manner. Nobody has taught the body to respond this way, right? So this is what the internal karma looks like. And once you cross this age of around 20, you are physically strong enough to take care of your own thing. So you don't need the society so much. So the urge for the body to be in the tribe is slowly going down. You don't need the tribe so much anymore. So this urge to be part of the tribe slowly reduces after you become physically strong. The second karma, which is the karma that the societies are teaching you, again begins very early on in your life, and up until maybe 15, 16, when your mind is still very soft, the societies can teach you something, right? We use the word brainwashing. The brainwashing usually happens by society in the early age, because once you cross this age of around 15ish, right, it's very difficult to teach you anything now, or to make you or to teach you compulsions to do anything. So this is what the compulsion in the body looks like, which is internal karma, and this is the external karma that we talked about. Now there is another one which is much more interesting, and this one is the desire to know. The desire to know who am I, the desire to know how things work. So human beings are born with this internal karma, which is linked to my survival. But there is another karma, another intelligence that we are born with, and that intelligence is asking us to how about go and know how things work, right? So this is what I'm calling as a good karma, and this is the curiosity part of the human body. Again, nobody has taught the baby to be curious, right? The baby is just born curious. Now you might have different levels of curiosity, but everybody wants to know, right? So this desire to know, or this compulsion to know, is there in everybody, right? And what this thing is, everybody is trying to know. You can call this the inner quest, or the quest that you are born, that everybody is born with. And this also is a survival instinct. I'll explain this, right? This also is a survival instinct. As I said, just stay with me. I'm giving you the hint here. Now, what happens is, if you do yoga, which is what I'm trying to teach you here and share with you, if you do yoga, what happens is, this curiosity, it is this one that is pushing you to go and learn yoga, right? Or the body doesn't usually say this in this way, that go ahead and learn yoga. The body says, go and learn how things work. Body says, go and learn about how am I working, how is he working, how is she working, how is a tree working, how is the plant working. So everybody has this curiosity, right? And when you gain that knowledge, when you gain that spiritual experience, what happens is, once you gain the knowledge of yoga and once you gain that experience, what happens is you immediately understand how the body is working, the compulsions that I'm born with and the compulsions that society is teaching me. Everything disappears, right? Once you achieve the point of yoga and spiritual experience, this desire to know also dies with it. The desire to know dies, the body compulsions that you're born with, they die, and the compulsions that society are teaching you, they all die, right? So that's kind of again a survival instinct, because the body doesn't know that it's born with these two compulsions. So the nature is like playing tricks, right? First, the nature wants you to go and learn society, be in the society, but the nature also wants you to know how everything is working, because at one point in time, you should be able to understand the compulsions and the way body works, and then at this point, you are a free person. You have no compulsions left anymore. Again, look at the lion, look at the cat, look at the dog. They do not have any compulsion except the food, right? They don't have any compulsion. For societies, yes, obviously they want to be protected, but everybody, a cat doesn't like another cat nearby it. A dog doesn't like another dog nearby it. A lion doesn't like a lion nearby it. Why? Because they don't have that compulsion. All they want is food, and even for human beings, we want food, but in terms of the compulsions which can drive us crazy, this good compulsion helps you to take care of it. So with yoga, what you do is you understand all the three compulsions, and now you are free from all compulsions, because to become free from all compulsions, you have to know those compulsions. And if only you know and you have experienced those compulsions, you can understand, okay, I don't need you, don't create me these emotions in me, right? So that's kind of, again, let's kind of summarize this karma thing. So what we have learned about is that karma talks about your survival, and the first thing is just by being in the society. If you are in the society, the food is taken care of, the external threats are easily handled, so the body is pushing you. The body is saying, please, as a baby, please go into the tribe, please. So this guy is like the karma, pushing you, the intelligence in the body pushing you, please go into the tribe. But then what also is in this boy, in this baby, is this internal quest to know things. The baby doesn't know, why is this guy pushing me? Why is this karma pushing me? The baby doesn't know this thing, right? But the baby is born with it. So somewhere down the line, nature has to tell the baby that this is the way you are programmed, and with this knowledge, if you seek the answers, you can get the answers, and you will know how things are working. So this good karma is also what you are born with, and why you are born with it is because you want to understand the whole thing. And now, and in fact, what you have seen, what you have understood so far is this thing about me as a baby being born. I am being born with a compulsion to go and join the tribe. I don't know about this thing, but all I know is when I do something I feel happy, when I do something I feel sad. I have no ideas why is my body making me sad and bad and happy, and then the societies are teaching me so many things, and even those things are making me sad and happy, making these good chemicals, bad chemicals, and then you are wondering what exactly is happening to me. Why is my body freaking out like this? What am I supposed to do? Should I go and do this thing? Will that make me happy, or should I do this and this will make me happy? So you are in this state of matrix where you have no idea why you are in this situation. In fact, Matrix is a very good movie which says that you are in this virtual environment where you don't know how you came in here, right? But nature is very smart. Nature has put us in this social mess where people are teaching me all kinds of things, and my body itself is making all these bad chemicals, not good for me, not making me happy. But at the same time, the inner quest that I'm born with is my key, is my door, is my key out of this matrix. So, and this is where, and again, as a baby, I do not know all these things. So I'm always lost. And if you see, that's what was the condition of Gautam Buddha when he was discussed on the very first slide, that why was he curious? It's not just only him who was curious. Everybody is curious, and he was kind of too much lost. Maybe I'm not that lost to force myself to learn this thing, but for him, he was lost and he was not finding any solution. That what exactly is he lost about? What exactly is he seeking? He's just not able to understand why is the body behaving this way. And then the knowledge of yoga helps you with all these answers, right? So let's kind of come to the summary. So we are now towards the summary of what we have learned. It's almost nearly 2.5 hours. So we are looking at the human psyche, right? The human psyche we are now summarizing, because this is practical knowledge, and I want you to take away some slides, some information real quick. So we are looking at the psyche summary of a human being, and we say that human beings are designed for the two A's, the A and the A. And A is not American airline. Well, we might all be chasing America through American Airlines, but that's not what A and A is. The A is the acceptance by society. That's kind of the internal karma we are talking about. And then the appreciation by society, which is the IK3 that I mentioned, is when society accepts you, it increases your worth index, and again linked to your survival, right? So what we do in societies is, from the perspective of this boy, the first thing the body will push this boy is, please do something and get accepted by the tribe. That's all the chemicals in the body telling the boy, please go and join the society. The second one is the boy knows that the second part of my effort is about acceptance, which I talked about is increasing the worth. So this talks about the social arrangements, the competitions that societies are arranging, right? And the way we have organized our society, competition will always be part of it. And what we have done is, we have created different, if you want to call this the worth pyramid. So this pyramid could be for, let's say, the game of cricket, and the guys up there are guys like Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, and this pyramid could be for football, where on the top are guys like Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Mbappe. So they are the guys ruling the football world. And this could be the pyramid for the people who knows the most. So people like Neil deGrasse, our famous scientists, they could all be sitting here. So the way the societies have handled this knowledge or of competition is by creating so many different pyramids. So people feel that, okay, they have reached their worth, right? So we are always promoting people to find their respective compartment or respective pyramid and try to increase their worth. What for, right? What for? Again, we are all trying to chase competition, become the first in whatever good we are at. We are chasing everything only for that one day. That one day where one human being can decide my survival, right? That's all. If you pay a little attention, that we are chasing these pyramid tops only to be here in that situation where if one human being has to decide my survival, because of my worth index, I get to live and the others die. And I'm asking myself, in my lifetime, how many times will I ever see a situation like this? I have never seen in my life where another human being can decide my survival based on my worth index, right? So is it worth pushing myself, torturing myself to be at the top of a pyramid only to get the life jacket one day? Well, that remains to be answered. Right now, in societies, once you understand that you need society, so you need society, you need competition for this one day. But once you become a yogi or you understand yoga, you realize that society is good for your survival. Yes, but these yogis in the past, they always used to live near the towns and cities. They were never totally isolated, right? Even when they were isolated, they would always be in their own groups. So they understand that few people around me are needed for my survival. But then I do not need a society, because I understand that if I go in society, the society will teach me competition, which is of no use, because I don't care that for that one day where another human being has to decide my survival. In fact, there are other people like agodis who also are like wanderers. They don't give a care about what people are thinking about him, because they've understood that this society is good only for your survival in terms of your food. Let's say these guys have no problems coming and begging for food in the tribe and then going back, right? They have no problems, because at the end of the day, so what? So I don't have to participate in society for this position. There is no need for it, because this position is only for your survival for that one single D-Day, right? So kind of come to the close, and then a few slides, and then we are done here. We are looking at the root problem that we are trying to address here, and that answers the question, why should humanity learn yoga, right? We talked about these guys who are winning, they're happy, cheerful, and then each one of these will eventually become the top in their pyramids. But what about the guy who lost and who's losing again and again and again? Now, how do we handle a guy like this? If this guy loses more and more, he will feel again, what am I good for? What is my worth? It's better to die, right? That's kind of where the loss turns to depression, and depression becomes a suicide, right? Now, as societies, we have to assist these people who are not able to win the worth pyramid, right? So this is where the knowledge of yoga comes in, and we want to teach everybody the way how life works. Why is he happy when he wins, and why is he sad when he wins, or when he loses rather? So we are trying to teach the society what is happiness and what is sadness, and at the end of the day, this guy is happy because he is climbing the worth, and he will get to survive that one day which may never come in anyone's life, right? Now what societies have done is this natural quest. So what we need to do as society is we need to encourage this inquiry, this quest of how life works, because for this guy, survival can only come through that inner quest, that good karma that I talked about, and only that thing can give this guy the light and tell him, well, that was just my compulsions, and I do not need that. So the way societies have treated this inner quest is saying that how things work. If I was a baby, I'll say how things work, and the short answer is there is a God. The God has made everything. The God runs the whole system. The God decides this, the God decides that. So we kind of kill that good inquiry the baby had to start with. And once the baby thinks that it's the God who decides, and the baby never learns about the compulsions of the body, there is no turning back. There is no way this baby can be saved, right? And here again, I'm not trying to throw mud on the various belief systems, but essentially every belief system has created this concept of God, where the God is the one that is running the show. And we have, again, what this has done is it has killed that inquiry that we are born with. Because once you get the answer, okay, God, fair enough, you do not want to learn anymore on how things work or how the body works. And this is where the inquiry stops. And once the inquiry stops, and if you are a guy like this, you will eventually fall prey to your own compulsions, right? And this is where we feel that a knowledge of yoga is really absolutely needed to bring about a peace in the environment, right? So let's come back to the conclusion. The workflow that we devised. The workflow was that you do Hatha Yoga, and Hatha Yoga gives you enough flexibility. Then we learn about the survival instinct, we learn about the karma, and when you are sitting there trying to focus, all that distraction is not coming and bothering you. The distraction about you getting marks or not, you getting a good score in your competition or not, or you getting good score or you getting good salary or not, or your boss or your wife or your kids or your neighbors, anybody. So once you understand that your survival and the karma and the compulsions, your mind will still wander, but you can relax the mind much more easily once you understand how the survival system of the body works. And here again, from you learn about the positions, the way to focus, and from here on you follow this workflow, and you eventually experience the self. You have this spiritual experience, and you become a realized being. And kind of that's all I had to teach in this and share with you. Let's come to the conclusion, the takeaway slides. The first one is the yoga teaches you how life works within me, within you, within the whole cosmos. And we learn about that this intelligence is creating and destroying. So everything that, including me, is created and destroyed, and so is the universe. So the whole cosmos will simply evaporate one day, and again will be reborn sometime later, right? And that's what we say is the universe. Maybe there are more universes. It's not just one bubble. There are many bubbles around the multiverse thing, right? And then what you learn is that we are just born. We are not born for anything. Yes, our compulsions makes us think that we are born to achieve something, but that's not the reality. We are just born, and the good thing is we are born as the best life form on this planet. We are at the top of the food chain. We can destroy the planet. We know we are the best life form, not just on this planet, but in the whole known universe. So if I was to take a choice that you want to be born as an elephant or as a human being, I'm saying I want to be born as a human being. This is the best life form that is available to anything living in this cosmos, right? And modern day yogis, they don't have to live outside the society. So let's say if I learn about the ways things work, right? If I learn about it, so what? Well, what this has helped me is bring about a mental clarity that this body works in one way. My interactions with other human beings can cause in me good emotions and bad emotions. And again, good emotions are for my survival, bad emotions are for my survival. But if I know that I'm not going to have that one day where Titanic is sinking and another human being can decide my survival, I don't think that day is ever going to come in my life. I think the human society has evolved, so I don't need to let my body create those negative emotions in me. And this is where a lot of health conditions are also coming up. When you are mentally stressed, the body is creating these negative poisonous effects on you. And the fourth one is with yoga. The ultimate aim is to experience the spirit, experience that no body, that the spirit is here and the body is here. Again, not a separation, but you don't experience as if the body has been shut for you for some time and you're only experiencing. So that's kind of what the target of yoga is. So if you want to go into yoga, that is what you're looking to achieve by doing the Hatha Yoga and the meditation. And this is the last slide where what we say is we learned that human bodies are born with compulsions. Our compulsions are good for our survival, but we are also born with one compulsion, and that compulsion is to know how everything is working. And at the end of the day, this also is a survival instinct that the body has put in you. So the body is pushing you into a matrix, and the body is also pushing you with a key to the matrix. And this knowledge seeking is what that key is to get out of the matrix. And once you understand, you don't allow your survival instincts to dominate you. You understand that the body is going to create these emotions, so you don't pay attention to it. You just stay relaxed. And when you know that your interaction with other people around you in the tribe is, the body is reacting in a similar, in one way or the other, you don't pay attention. And this way, even the body do not create those emotions anymore. Once you understand that these emotions are there, the body says, well, okay, I'm not going to create them anymore. And you become much more peaceful and you don't react in those ways. And the last one is, again going back, is once you understand the compulsions and once you allow your inner quest to get you all the answers, what you have is, you have no more desire to know anything else. And that's what we call as inner peace. That means you don't have any desire to know anything, because what was important for you, your survival, has all been now taken care of. And in fact, this term about mukti is also linked to the same freedom or liberation from your compulsive cycles or your compulsions the body is born with. Well, towards the end, I want to pay my respect to my guru. It was because of him that I was able to achieve whatever I have achieved in whatever proportions. I would highly recommend that you take the inner engineering course, which teaches about the way body works, and the Shambhavi Mahamudra course, which helps you to focus your mind, allows you enough flexibility, and allows you to have your spiritual experience. Well, with this, it was a rather long session, but I'm hoping that this would be useful to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Thank you.